All right, then. Here we are. I never know what words to say to start it. Like, we could do that thing, where people like start it the same way every time, like real professional, but that's not us. So instead, I'll just say some weird words like okie dokie or I don't know what. But this is episode number 44, which is actually kind of dope to think about. 44 episodes in. We've been doing this for 44 weeks. I guess sort of. Like in the very beginning, we recorded a bunch at once, but yeah, we're coming up on we're coming up on 52. Yeah, putting it out there, putting out the vibes for almost a year now, which is pretty exciting. And that it's coming up on a year because we tracked our first few episodes. Last time Nate was here in studio, which is sad. You got to get back up here during last year's Bassmaster Classic, and now we're all getting geared up for this year's Bassmaster Classic, which is less than a month away, which is pretty exciting. And I know it's played out, and I know everybody probably does it in the fishing world, but I do kind of want to do like a Bassmaster Classic like preview episode, give our predictions, give our like who we want to win. I don't know that there could be a stronger favorite than Christy this year, right? Like it's just not possible. Like I can't remember the last time somebody fished a classic. Maybe Casey Ashley, but I mean otherwise, like he's just got to be the favorite times 5. But anyway, we could do that in a couple of weeks. I think that'd be kind of fun. But yeah, that we're up on a year of doing this because now we're like back to kind of where we started, like on the calendar, which is rad. So Nate, can you believe we've been doing this for almost a year?
No, I really can't. I guess I can, but I'm more so proud of the consistency. Like it's been, like you said, Lola, it's been 44 weeks straight that we've put out an episode.
Yeah,
so
wild.
That's pretty dope. We've stayed on top of it. So
yeah, it's a lot of work. It's more work than I think we were expecting it to be, and that's not.
But you're really good at the work. Like we do the podcast part, the three of us, and then Jordy does like the mixing and the editing, if there's editing there, and making the cover art and all of the things.
Yeah,
so
I enjoy it. It's fun. It is work, but it's fun and it's rewarding. And I do think like what a lot of people have told us, like if you want to grow your podcast, which we do, the number one key is consistency. Like just you can't miss weeks, because if you miss one, miss two, people are going to think you're not a thing anymore, and then whatever. So we've been working really hard to consistently put stuff out. Tonight for episode 44, we're really excited to have Brendan Brown from Brown Bait Co. This is an idea we had originally, like forever ago, where we were going to talk through, I think we've only done one so far on frogs, but where we were going to do lure specific or like style kind of technique specific episodes. And to have a dude like this on this episode to walk us through the world of swim bait fishing, and I don't mean like boot tail swim bait, I mean like large swim bait, be that hard bait, soft bait, whatever. This is going to be dope. And so we're sort of approaching this. I think this should be pretty beneficial to a lot of people, but we're kind of approaching it like a swim bait 101 fishing.
Yeah.
So if you've seen...
It's perfect for me because I know nothing.
Sure. Nate said the same thing when we were texting about it. He's like, I don't know anything, so this will be great. But if you've ever seen dudes, Chris Zaldane, Milliken, Brandon Polinick, Kyle Jakobsen, even Ike throws them. If you've seen these dudes throw these big baits, it's getting more and more popular, more and more like widely accepted. It's been a thing out on the West Coast forever, but you're seeing these big baits. And if you've ever seen those and thought to yourself, man, that would be fun, but also felt a little like, gee, where do I start? Like, this is bigger rods, bigger reels, thicker line, expensive lures. Like, how do I get this ball rolling? Tonight, dude, tonight is for you. And so I'm excited to talk about swim bait stuff. And I'm also really excited to talk about Lola and I. If you're watching this, if you're not, you should switch over to YouTube right now. You should see that Lola and I are matching.
Oh, I was like, where are we going with
Bootsy?
Yeah, look at how cute we are, dude.
So cute and matching.
Yeah, so Lola, why are we wearing the same crew neck?
Well, our favorite place, Guac and Roll.
That was the funniest transition ever. Why are we wearing... Well.
Tell you. We went to Guac and Roll today. and we went with
Yeah.
we went with
Shout out.
Wilden and Jordy's mama.
De niños.
And we got just, the best food ever.
Dude, it's always good. It's always good. And today was my best I've ever had there.
Oh my god.
Which is saying something. And again, if you're anywhere near like north central Wisconsin, go to Guac and Roll, get the Barstow burrito. Today I got it. Or the
Barstow burrito bowl.
Yeah, today I got it sans lettuce because I just don't like when lettuce gets warm and wilty. That's really icky to me. Like that's not a good vibe. And I'm probably the minority there. I think most people get lettuce in their burrito, but you get it without the lettuce. And then I got it with birria meat. And then of course I dumped on the fire, which is the second hottest hot sauce they have.
Our daughter Kennedy loved.
Our 14-year-old just went to work on it. I was so proud of her. Yeah. But gosh, awesome. It was incredible. Yeah. Like legitimately 1 to 10, it was like a 9.9 and it might have just been a 10, but incredible.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, so we went to Guac and Roll.
And we were eyeing up their cute merch, and because they have a t-shirt, a hoodie, and then a crew neck sweatshirt. And I was like, these are so cute. And our kids are like, can we please get them? And I'm like, okay, there are 100 of you. So no.
Yeah, y'all finance. y'all do merch finance.
And I was like, well, maybe we will. And then as we're leaving, Carlos was like, hey, my dad wants you guys to have these. And he gave us each
a free crew neck. And if you don't remember, Carlos was on episode like 30 something.
Yeah.
As the owner of Guac and Roll, because we're tackle and tacos, and so we had an actual like taco expert on it. That
we're
episode
not sponsored by them. We just love them.
We just love it. This is not like a forced plug. It's just a really dope restaurant with really cool, honest, hardworking people.
And we're gonna take him fishing.
Oh yeah. He said he wants to go fishing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
He goes, I don't have patience for like sitting there with a bobber. I'm like, well, we don't do that. I'm like, we fly up and down the lake at 70 miles an hour and fish hard and whatever. He goes, oh, I'll try that. I'd be down for that. So, but anyway,
he was wearing cool shoes today.
Yeah, he was wearing high Jordan 1s, white and like burgundy. But shout out to Carlos, the whole Guac and Roll family. Thank you so much for the crew necks. And it's dope too. It's like it's actually embroidered. It's not
the inside.
It's not. Yeah, it's like
super soft.
It's like felty or something. It's like that old pickup line. Do you remember that eighth grade pickup line? Hey girls, is that shirt felt? She'd be like, no. And I'm like, you want it to be?
I've never heard that, you creep.
Oh, that's a good one, dude. I use that on everybody. I use it on like my buddies in 8th grade. They'd be like, dude, stop.
On your buddies?
Yeah.
Okay, the
inside. I would be real. I don't think I've heard that one.
Oh, it's
throw blankie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's super soft on the inside.
It's not like felt or whatever.
Do you want
felt.
It to be?
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, so shout out Guac and Roll. We love y'all. We love your food. Again, for real. We're not sponsored. We have no like obligation to do this other than
it's yummy.
It's incredible. Dude, if you're anywhere near here, go to Guac and Roll in downtown Eau Claire. It is so good. Prices are good. Food is fresh. Yeah. Clean, rad spot. Nate, when's the last time you had some good Mexican?
Good Mexican. It's been a little bit, probably about a week. It's been probably about a week since I've had good Mexican. Now, matter of fact, I'm sorry.
You've had crappy Mexican since then though?
Well, last night I had some not the greatest, but
no.
It was good. See, I made some tacos at home, and I tried out a new taco seasoning mix deal. Here, I got this.
That's risky. That is risky.
Fire and Smoke or Fire Society or something like that.
Yeah, Smoke Society or whatever that one is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's.
I've never seen like their bag stuff.
So that's.
No, I see it.
So that's the seasoning mix, and it was like your typical seasoning mix, but instead of adding water, you were supposed to add tomato sauce, like 3/4 cup tomato sauce instead of adding water.
Yeah.
I did it. I didn't care for it. And I kept eating it.
I kept eating it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I kept eating it. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe it's good, but it's just different. Maybe, and then I thought maybe I didn't care for it. But then I ate it all and it was actually decent. So yeah, I'm not
but then I ingested all of it.
Yeah. Wait, it was just when you have the packets, you're supposed to add water.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like almost like saucy seasoning thing.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I usually just make my own seasoning. Really like I just do our own seasonings.
Yeah.
But I have used a packet before. I didn't read directions because I thought it was just the seasonings that you needed and you just throw it in.
Yeah, I think all of those like are like water. What's that brand that everybody talks about with the white people tacos?
Ortega.
Ortega. Yeah, totally. A little square Ortega package. With some water. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But so it said you could add water or the tomato sauce. I did the tomato sauce because I happen to have some in the house.
Okay.
And you regret it?
I don't. No, it grew on me. It was decent. We got some meat left in the house. I'll probably finish it off.
Okay.
Eat it with some chips.
That's what we should start doing, is eating on the show. No, we shouldn't. That'd be awful.
Oh my gosh,
hearing the crunching.
I asked
like,
the kids, I was like, do you think it'd be okay if I brought this popcorn out to podcast? And all of them were like, no, that'd be awful.
Yeah,
I was
it
like,
turns into like a
jerks.
what is that called?
ASMR.
Where people do like weird sound stuff, dude. I'm not into it, dude. Yeah, I'm not into it. Yeah, I'm not into it at all. Nate, what did you what are you doing for Valentine's Day? Because in podcast world, when this drops on Taco Tuesday, which again, every podcast we put out drops on Taco Tuesday, 5 a.m. On all the major networks, Spotify, Apple, Google, all that stuff, and then also video on the Year Turbs every Tuesday at 5 a.m. So in podcast world, tomorrow is Valentine's Day. I sadly, sucky, stinkily will be out of town. I'm still doing training, and so I gave Lola some stuff today, just a little, just like a kind of a stereotypical little like chocolates and flowers.
Cute and unexpected.
Yeah. But I think you're real nice.
I like you.
I'm so glad we match our shirts. I know. But Nate, what are you doing for Valentine's Day, dude?
Honestly, we probably won't be doing a whole lot on Valentine's Day, with it being Wednesday or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I've got to work, wife's got to work, and she works like late second shift. So we'll probably do something, in the coming weekend, go out to dinner and just spend some quality time together. About it. So.
Yeah, that's what's up. I mean,
you'll be out of town, but I will have our kids. And so I'll probably do something fun with them. Maybe we'll make like a homemade pizza in the shape of a heart and bake cookies or something.
Just something cheesy, fun, cutesy.
Yeah.
Why not, dude? For sure. So we're going to bring our guest in here in just 1 second, but I do want to say before we do, Brendan, we're sorry we're taking so long, man. We appreciate you. We see you sitting back there just chilling. I feel like a total jerk taking so long, but we're pretty excited about something that we can't.
What? Oh.
What's that one? No, that doesn't really work, but sort of. That noise sort of works. But we have a new sponsor coming on board for Tackling Tacos, and one thing that I've said from the giddy up, and it will never change, literally never change, and if it does change, I will stop doing this podcast entirely. But we will never go out looking for sponsors like little kids wanting candy, like, hey, we have a show, give us free stuff, pay us. Like we're just not, like if it's an organic,
we don't do that.
No,
I'm just kidding.
I will with Duke Cannon, but that's the only exception.
Right, that's it. Yeah,
that's it though. But if sponsorships occur like in a natural, like fitting way, then like we're all cool with it. If it's stuff we believe in, like no disrespect to Brett Favre or whatever, but when he started endorsing that like ear hair trimmer on national TV, like that ain't it. I'm not doing that.
What?
I just, that ain't my shtick. And so we have a sponsor.
He was all clean in the back of the neck. With
he was too.
Well, you gotta clean it up.
Yeah, you do, but you ain't got to put your name on it. That's embarrassing, dude.
Yeah.
But Nate and I used to always joke when we would watch like fishing tournaments, like, yo, what would it cost for Tampax to be like your main? I was just gonna say that. Yeah, to be your main sponsor, like your boat wrap is like Tampon.
I mean, I would do it.
Like a bra company or something.
Yeah.
No diss to bra companies, but as a grown man,
I would do that. I'm not a grown man. So.
Right.
But anyway, we got a new sponsor coming on board. It's like a done deal, but we can't really like super announce it yet. But it's a big company that we're really excited to work with.
Yeah.
And it's not Nike, or is it? No, it's not. But it is a big company, and so we're pumped. And so we'll announce that soon, the next couple coming weeks. But for now, let's get to it. Y'all ready?
Oh yeah.
Y'all ready to learn? Are you ready to learn, Nate?
Bring the man in. Yeah, I'm stoked.
I'm like nervous. Do I need a notebook to take some notes?
You should. I mean, you could grab your phone because I think this is going to be very. I think it's going to be very educational and fun. And I think what we'll do, Brendan, just so you know, Nate, so you know, Lola, so I think what we'll do is we'll start off because I want to talk to the dude too. Not just like he shows up and I'm like, teach us something good. Like, let's talk to him as a human being, figure out who he is, and then we'll get into like the fishing bait, all that, how to use a swim bait, what that looks like, whatever. So, with no further ado, we're so honored to have this guy on the show. Like I said, he. I don't know if I said this just to him in the beginning or if I said it on the podcast, but this is a guy that like Rich from Hellabass has spoke super highly of. The guys at Serious Angler podcast have spoke highly of, and those are a couple voices that if they both are in unison on something, like, dude, you should probably pay attention because they're very experienced, smart, well-connected guys, and they've both mentioned this fella. And so we're so honored to have Brendan Brown with us tonight so we could talk about some swim bait stuff. Brendan, how are you, dude?
I'm doing wonderful. How are y'all?
We're doing very good, dude. We're doing really good.
Is. Yeah.
Where are you?
I'm like nobody. I'm nobody. Come on now.
No, that's not. You're a liar. Get out of here. That's not true. Where are you? We don't know a ton about you, man. As a human being, where are you coming to us from? Besides the fact that like your kitchen's in the background, but I mean, like, where on this map are you located?
Yeah, I'm in here in Dublin, Georgia. So we get to fish topwater all year round, which is the big positive. So that's like super big. But yeah, I was born and raised here. Okay. Probably going to be here, maybe Florida eventually, but I don't know. I just hate the cold so much.
Yeah. That's a pretty easy thing to hate for sure, man. So
we've had a pretty mild winter here, but
yeah, for sure. So Nate, Lola, let's fire off some like just human being questions. What do you got for this feller?
Nate, you go first.
Let's start with like what got you into fishing. We all we always ask the story of kind of what got you hooked, as cliche as it sounds, but what brought you into fishing? What made you want to pursue this as not just a hobby but as a career, or however far you want to take it?
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, my dad pretty much started it for me. It was like he took me a few times, and I was just like, wow, this is like so much fun, just catching like bluegill off a dock. Catch a few bluegill.
I love that.
It's just like the best. Like, you're spending quality time with your dad, and then you're going out and just having fun. And that's kind of how it started. Then I got into more of the technical stuff. I was like, oh, does this color work better in this water clarity? And I started using like worms, and then I got introduced in the whole like bass fishing world. And I was like, holy cow, there's so much here. And like I have like ADHD, so I'm like all over the place. I'm like, oh, does this color look good? Oh, I like this worm. What does this do? What does this do? And I'm trying to figure all this out. And I started pretty young, but it was pretty exciting. Like in the beginning, I was so like amped up about everything. But that's kind of where I got it from. And then it just went off from there. It's been downhill since.
Absolutely, dude. Yeah, dude, I love that story. I think that's really relatable. Sometimes when people have a story like that, they'll say something like, oh, it's the same old thing. I fished with my dad and then I took it to the next level. But like, I don't think that's the same old thing at all. I think that's so special every single time, and relatable. And every time you hear it, it's like, heck yeah, dude. And it makes me, I assume it makes Nate as a dad, it makes me want to make sure I'm doing that stuff with my kiddos so they can tell a similar story, whatever. So tell us then, Brendan, you started off with just bluegies and panfish and whatever. How did you transition into the bass world? How did that happen?
I accidentally caught one on like a little tiny like white grub, and I was like, what the hell is this thing? It's like off my little tiny reel. It's like peel and drag. I'm like, holy cow, what the heck is this thing?
Yeah.
And I was just like super excited about that. Once I caught it in, it was like this big. It wasn't very big, but
so exciting.
That's what got me started into it. And then I started researching stuff on YouTube because I was pretty young whenever I got started. So it was kind of a thing that I just like liked to do. Like, I was already watching YouTube videos here and there about other stuff because I was into like video games and whatnot whenever I was little. But and then I was
still a thing for kids these days.
But and then I just started watching like Tactical Bassin, some of the other guys out there. I mean, a whole bunch of them. And I just started, saving up my allowance. I'd get a pack of worms or a jig or something like that, and I'd try to learn the technique and put in some time with it. Just fishing farm ponds like every once in a while, And then I was actually fortunate enough to have like a pond like a mile away, so I just take the 4-wheeler and just run on there. I'd holding 3 rods, and I'd run the 4-wheeler right over there, and I'd catch a few bass in the afternoon, like right after school, and I'd just be like so amped up, like, 'cause like every day I would go. It was the best. But that's kind of how I transitioned from pan fishing to bluegill or bass.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome, dude. That's great. You still fish with your dad at all?
No, not as much, because I'm fishing mostly off of a boat, and he gets seasick. So I want to get him on there just to see, just to mess with him a little bit. But I really want to get out. I really want to get on there again with him and see if he can we can go out sometime. But
yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
My last boat that I had, which wasn't a bad boat, it was a '99 Triton TR21 with a Mark 225 on the back at the time. I ended up upgrading it to a 250, but whatever. Anywho, my dad, similar story. We grew up fishing like pike and muskie and stuff up in northern Wisconsin, and we would go out in like the little like 15-foot Lund with like a 10 horsepower Johnson on it, and like wide open, that thing's going 6, 7. It's like, just open on the hand tiller. And I took him out on the river, and I think we hit like, I don't know, 40 miles an hour. And I look over to my left, and he looked like he was just face to face with Jesus. It's just like, what the like you could just see the wind hitting him in the face, and like just so unexpected. Yeah, just like pinned. And I was like, oh, all right, I'll ease back off the throttle. And that's
40 is good.
Yeah.
I like 40.
I don't know. Yeah. But I'm like, and we got to the first spot, and he's like, man, we were flying there. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, we were going, probably about 40. And he's like, how fast will this boat go? I'm like, yeah, a little faster than that, but we can not do that. That's fine, But yeah, similar stories for sure, dude. So tell us about who you are now, Brendan. What's your spot in the whole fishing world? I know you have more than one iron and more than one fire, but what are you up to these days?
Right now is just really swim baiting most of the time. I'm also big into like balsa crankbaits, so that's
heck yes,
that I'm like deep into right now. I just recently got into that, but
come on, we're gonna have a 6-hour long podcast because I'm very much, and so is Nate, into the balsa stuff. But keep going. Sorry.
But yeah, it's been swim baiting and balsa crankbaits and just chasing after some bigger fish. That's what I'm wanting. This year I made it my goal to fish one lake the entire year. Now, of course, if I travel a lot for work, so whenever I travel, I try to fish wherever I am. So, of course, I'll be fishing other places. But from where I'm at, from where I live, I'm going to be fishing this one lake for the entire year, and I'm going to catch a teener. Hopefully, that's the plan. I'm going to swim bait. I'm going to try to catch one because I know they've shocked up ones from there. I've talked to biologists that have seen them and everything. So I'm trying to get after. I'm going to try to catch like a 12 or a 13 or 14, something massive. That's what I want to go for. So that's
heck yeah, that's rad.
And then making baits and all that stuff. So just trying to keep up with everything.
Okay. Wow. I mean, obviously, we're not going to ask you to tell us what the lake is, but have you caught some double digits out of it, or have you? I mean, I know you said they've shocked up big ones, but have you tussled with any big ones in there?
The biggest one I've caught out of there so far has been an 8, and I've caught a bunch of 7s and a bunch of 6s out of there so far this year.
Okay,
but I've yet to catch one like a 10 over there.
All right.
So but it does
so far this year. He said.
Yeah, we're up here frozen.
We're in February. We're looking at ice, and he's already caught a bunch of 7s and 8s.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild. Like, it's cool to see like how like different like all the states are in like where the fish position like throughout the year. Like how you guys don't eat, like how you guys probably don't have open water yet, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. Like ours are about to spawn like any day now.
Wow.
That is crazy.
That's nuts.
I mean, there was supposed to be an ice fishing contest today on our lake, and they had to cancel it because half of the lake is open.
Yeah, it's been unseasonably warm, but it's not.
It's not that.
It's not that warm. No,
not that warm.
Yeah, so like part of me is like, oh, you haven't caught a double digit yet, and then part of me is like, oh, shut up. Like we don't even get to fish. You know what I'm saying? Right. I took the boat out at the end of December just because it was open water, like really shockingly. And I couldn't buy a bite, but just to be on the water fishing, I was like so pumped. So yeah, I don't, I feel for you, but I don't.
It helps your brain.
It does. It really does. Yeah, you're exactly. It's like therapeutic for sure. So you mentioned it. You said it. Making baits. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I've been making baits for I don't know since I can't even remember honestly. Back when I was a kid, it was like maybe 2017, somewhere around there. Maybe I don't know. It wasn't like terribly long ago, but yeah, I started back then. Made some horrible baits. The first 2-3 years were absolutely horrible. I was just like I didn't know what I was doing. Heck, today I still don't even know what I'm doing most of the time. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's special too because like when you catch your first fish on a bait you made, it's like when you catch a fish, period, it's fun. But when you catch it on something that you worked hard on to build, it's even better. It's exhilarating. It's amazing. So yeah.
What made
I'm just
you
trying to
want to
make baits.
start to like make baits? Like, why did you want to do that?
Yeah.
Because I didn't have enough money to buy the baits, and
Okay.
then
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
I
Solid,
realized
yes.
that it's more expensive to make the baits, and I was like, well, you know what? I'm enjoying this too much, so now I have both
Yeah.
hobbies. You know, I'm both going at both of them, so I'm like, all right, I'll just roll with it because it's
Yeah.
fun. You know,
Mhm.
that's pretty much what got me into bait making. And
Okay.
now I sell a few here and there, but it's not like a big thing. Like I don't care to make money off of them.
Yeah. Okay.
You know?
What do you I know I asked you to bring some stuff for show and tell. Do you have anything there, or I guess I think I said for visual aids, do you have anything there with you of stuff you've made recently or some older stuff or anything like that we could see?
I completely forgot to bring my stuff. I had a separate box. I think it might be out in the car.
Okay.
Do you want me to go grab it, or do you want me
Yeah,
to?
yeah, go grab it. We'll talk.
see.
We'll carry this for a second. You go grab it. All right. This is the beauty of podcasting, right?
Yeah.
Like
For
it's
sure.
not a TV interview. Like let him go grab it because I think it's a better interview with it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know how old Brendan is, but what do you think?
Well, he said he was still a kid in 2017, so
Yeah.
I feel like I could be his grandmother.
Yeah, I was getting the senior citizen discount in 17. When I would go to Perkins, they'd give me 15% off.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. Is
Yeah.
he 21,
He's young,
23,
super young.
7?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think that last one's accurate.
No, it's not.
But we'll see though. Yeah. All right. So he's back. Again, if you are just listening to this podcast, you know, I'm not usually like a visual podcast guy. I'm more of an audio podcast feller, but this is one that you really might want to switch over to YouTube on, because we're going to have a lot of swim baity stuff here with our homie Brendan. And, yeah, you might want to jump over there to see what we got going. So anyway, so Brendan, did you bring in your Brown Bait Co. box, or do you not even have it?
I completely spaced it and left it at the house. It's sitting on the shoe box. So
Okay.
It'll take me 5 minutes to go run to the house and get it if you want me to get it.
No, you don't have to do that. No. It's all good. I've seen some of the stuff you've made, and it's really unique. I think it's really cool looking. Yeah, we can overlay some stuff.
Yeah.
Don't even trip on that. I don't have to drive somewhere to go get it. But
All right.
yeah. So tell us about the process. You said you started off making some that were not
wood.
Yeah, that were not great. And now the stuff you make, I assume, I would think one of the things is you start building stuff, rods, baits, whatever. I don't know if fashioning waterproof bibs or something. I think the first few times you do something, it's like, oh, I hope this works. And then as you get better, I think the consistency of what you put out goes through the roof. I think that's a big mark of, experience.
Yeah.
Walk us through some of that for your process.
Yeah, so it's interesting to see how long it takes some people, like especially with YouTube. Like back in the day, like back a long time ago, there was no YouTube, so you couldn't you had to go out there and put in the time to learn some stuff. And I was lucky enough that I had YouTube, so I was able to get kind of a foothold on some of the things that were a little bit difficult to learn and figure out for the first time.
Sure.
So. But yeah, I started off with wood baits. I made a few jerk baits, crank baits, top waters, all that. And then I went over to soft plastics, and I was literally making molds out of clay, like clay that you bake in the oven, like you mold it.
Wow.
Like I literally fashioned like molds out of it. And I would I'm not kidding you, I would take like old baits that were ripped up. I put them in a pot on top of 2 bricks and like a grate. And I literally made a fire underneath because it didn't have a microwave.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not kidding.
That's amazing.
That's so cool.
That's dedication right there.
I love that. That's like some MacGyver stuff.
Yeah.
But
no, that's really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then it started getting an airbrush because like the first couple months I didn't have an airbrush, so I just took like a paintbrush and paintbrushed it, on there and everything, like with like craft paint and whatnot.
Yeah.
That I stole from my sister, so she might not know that. But yeah, and then I got an airbrush, started airbrushing a little bit, and that's like a whole nother world as well. And then you get into paint, which I really geek out on. Like I'm not a master at it, but I use automotive paint, so I really geek out on it. Like that's like something where I have a lot of fun. Like I geek out over materials and paints and like resins and stuff like that. That's where I have some fun with stuff. But it's also in the carving. I love carving, with just whenever you put a blade to wood and you start carving and shaping the bait and envision how you want
can
the action
see
to
it.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the best.
Yeah, absolutely. What have you made lately, Brendan, that you're like stoked on?
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of balsa crankbaits recently just because I'm into balsa crankbaits right now.
Yeah.
L-shaped bill baits have been big right now for me because we have shallow grass and muddy water, and it's the springtime. So something like a hybrid hunter.
Okay.
There's a big one that I've been throwing that I've had a ton of success with. That's kind of special, but
Okay.
I've been making a bunch of time for myself. What'd you say?
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's one that you made personally that you're having a bunch of success with.
Yes, and another one that somebody else made that I know.
Right,
and
that's awesome.
Yeah, his is a little bit more special because it has a special rattle in it that I think it makes a difference in this muddy water here. At least that one does, I think.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
But yeah, it's so much fun though catching fish like off of something that you made. It's just like the best. Like I can't like stress it enough. It's like the best, you know.
I love that, dude.
But yeah, I've been doing that. I've been doing swim baits a lot. I'm actually about to start a batch tonight of swim baits, so I'm going to be cutting out like 4 or 5 of them and getting started on a couple of weight baits. So that'll be exciting.
Oh, sick.
And, working on some flat sides too. So
yeah,
so that's what's going on at the moment. Yeah.
So all the swim baits that you make they're all balsa as well?
No, so I mean I've made balsa ones before, but most of them are basswood or Japanese Hiniki cypress. So those are the 2 woods I use for the bigger swim baits because balsa is super light. Balsa is like super lightweight, so it doesn't hold like screws really good. It floats a little too hard, so it's hard to ballast it and get it to sit right. You need to put a ton of weight in there, and if you put the weight too high in the bait, it doesn't do right things in water.
Yeah.
And those other 2 woods are really dense. Or well, I should say the Japanese cypress is a little bit more dense than the basswood, but the basswood holds detail better. It's like if you do detail carving, scales, gills, all that stuff, that wood works a little better. But yeah, those are pretty much the primary 3 woods. Balsa for crankbaits specifically. I have made balsa glide baits before, and I think I might do a few more of those eventually, just because I like the wood grain. Like it just looks cool. Like whenever you paint and you get to see through the wood grain, like it just adds detail to it. It just looks cool. Yeah, so those are pretty much the primary woods I'm using.
That's sick. God, dang it, that's sick. Have you ever watched marling baits on YouTube?
I have. Yeah. Yes, I have. He carves some cool stuff.
He does, but what you said is, and he's from Iowa, so Nate, shout out to Iowa. Shout out to Iowa. One thing I really like about his that you just touched on was the idea, like Lola was like, yeah, seeing it come together. Like his are pretty raw, where he kind of rough shapes them on the bandsaw and then starts just literally whittling it down with like a blade and then kind of adds in detail. And you see it really step 1, step 2, step 445, whatever. But yeah, that whole process, I've carved a few baits myself, literally like really rough, like with a balsa.
They're so cute.
Thank you.
I mean, cool.
But nothing on your level, but the satisfaction, like you said, of catching something that you made is just, man, that's next level. Yeah, I love that.
He does a great job of like showing the process on what it takes to make some baits. Like he does a really good job of documenting everything about it. It's well put together and everything, you know?
Yeah. And he's kind of funny.
It's fun to watch. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He's kind of a kind of dry, dorky sense of humor about it. Yeah. It's really Marling. If anybody hasn't seen it, I don't know homeboy from Adam, but Marling, Marling Baits. If you look him up on YouTube, he just does some really cool creative stuff. He's got pretty huge following. I don't know if his full-time job is YouTube yet, but it definitely could be. I mean, he's pretty large on there. But so talk to me about paint, Brendan. We had a feller on a few weeks back named AJ who runs Horseshoe Tackle.
I know him. I guess you could say we're friends.
Okay. Yeah. His paint skills are next level, I think.
He's amazing.
Yeah, I don't have the skills or the knowledge that you do, but what does it take to impress you when it comes to paint? You know, with you saying you're an automotive paint guy and the details and the whatever. What does it take to impress you with a lure paint job?
Yeah, and just to touch on AJ real quick. AJ is like one of the guys with like the best craw patterns. Like his craws.
Oh my gosh, they're ridiculous.
Pretty sweet.
Yeah, they're nonsense.
Yeah, it's amazing. But for me, it's really clean like patterns. Like you can do anybody can shoot through scales if you know the right like process. You can shoot through this way and then come back from the backside, and you can come from the top and you can shoot it straight over it to get different effects and details in there, and then you can lay stencils on top and all that. But if you can paint a clean pattern, like with a clean part line, like with white and black or black over white and all that, that impresses me because that is hard to do, especially with like water-based paints that are super, super thick. They tend to splatter, and automotive does that too sometimes, but you have to like prep it right, or at least the way I do it, you got to prep it right. But that really impresses me. Like whenever I see it, it looks like a fog, like fade from white to black or black to white. Like that is impressive, especially black. Black tends to splatter a little bit, and white really.
Yeah, that's dope. Any big brands out there that you see a paint job and you're like, oh man? AJ said that he can't he's tried and he can't really like reproduce some Megabass stuff, just because some of their paint patterns are just so fine tuned and the way they do it is such a science. Is there anything like that out there that you look at and you're like, whoa?
Anything really from Tacklecraft, TK Tacklecraft, his stuff is
his stuff is crazy.
He's the man. John Pryor does some insane work, insane stuff. But if we're talking like big brands, honestly, DRT has some pretty sweet like paint patterns. Like they're clean. The only issue is they don't stay on very well, and possibly it's because their base colors, they're metallic. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But yeah, they do some pretty clean work. It looks good too. You know, like it suits the bait's shape, which is pretty cool. Like not all companies like do that. Like the paint patterns suit how the bait is shaped, the face details, everything about it.
Sure.
Like it looks good on that bait. Like if you paint like a bluegill pattern on a shad bait, it sometimes doesn't look good. Or if another painter paints someone else's bait in their version of the shad, it doesn't look right or something like that. I don't know if you know what I mean, but
yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, probably DRT, Tacklecraft, Sean Pryor, AJ does killer work as well, and all those guys.
Yeah. Okay.
You know,
that's so cool.
What made you choose the automotive paint over your standard, airbrush? I guess I can't even think of what it's called, Intex or whatever the paint brand is.
Yeah, Createx.
Createx. That's it.
Yeah, I started out using water-based for a couple of years, and I was painting with it, and I was, whatever, it paints fine. But then I met TK at Tacklecraft from like doing YouTube lives, and he was, talking about paint and all that stuff. And then he got me to thinking about automotive, and I started asking questions, and I was like, you know what? Automotive sounds like it's probably the better choice for baits. And I'm not dissing anybody that uses water-based, but it sprays better. Like you can spray it through an airbrush and not have it thinned or anything like that. And it comes out a lot of the time looking like fog. You've got a lot more different colors. I have the ability to make paint. So most of the paints that I use are like I make them myself. So I'm not like dumping this green and this brown in to make this color. I'm like actually like getting the pearls or getting a concentrate and making the paint myself.
Oh, that's sick.
So that's really, a lot of fun too.
Neat.
There's a lot of rabbit holes to fall down there.
Oh, there's so much. There's
in a cool way, but
discontinued pearls too. Like there's discontinued things that you got to search for on eBay or whatever. Like it's so much fun to just like look around and everything. And there's a lot of old info that's like super interesting to read about and everything, But and then the other biggest thing that drew me to using automotive is because it sticks better. Because when you lay down your primer and your paint and your clear coat, it all kind of bonds together. It chemically meshes together. Whereas water-based, it sits on top of the clear, or the water-based paint sits on top of the primer most of the time. And then the clear sits on top of the paint. So a lot of the time you'll see baits from guys that either don't prep the baits or just use bad prep work or whatever, don't sand the baits. The paint and the clear start to lift and chip off and peel off. Whereas with automotive, you're going to get chips in it, but it's not going to peel up. I don't know. You probably can't see it because it's white, but yeah, that's the biggest thing is it's way more durable because everything is one, if you know what I mean. But that's the biggest thing for me is it's durable.
Yeah, that's smart.
Which matters to me because I want to put out like a superior product. Like that's what I want to do. Like, I want to put out something that I would use because I'm kind of weird about stuff. Like I want it to be perfect. I'm a perfectionist.
I was going to ask. That's what I was going to ask you. Are you a perfectionist by chance? But I feel like with this, you kind of have to be.
Yeah, if you want
to
do
like
it
a little bit, you want to do it really well. I don't know. How often are you making things?
Oh, all the time. Every day, pretty much. Every night, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Tomorrow I'm skipping fishing because it's going to be too cold and too wet. So I'm going to be in the shop all day.
Wait, what's too cold?
That is a good
40s.
question.
40s and raining. So
that is honestly in that 40-degree range where like you could throw on your rain gear or whatever, but it gets miserable pretty quick, dude.
Yeah.
I don't care where you're from. That's just not fun.
I wouldn't want to.
Mix a little wind in there too, boy.
Yeah, it's easy to take a fun day into a not very fun day for sure.
Yeah.
So you said you travel a lot for work. What do you do for work? What's your job?
Yeah, so my parents, my dad owns a horse training company, so he trains horses. So I work for him.
That's awesome.
So we train horses. We travel around the country. So we travel around the country for like shows and stuff. So, but yeah, that's pretty much what we do.
That's sick, dude. I did not. That was not what I expected you to say. That's
I'm not sure what I expected, but that was really cool.
Yeah, that was a dope answer. I'm scared of horses' mouths. This is me just being a dork right now. That big hard-looking jawline on a horse, boy. Every time I pet one, I think they're so cool and like their snout's so
he's
soft.
Gonna bite me.
And I'm like, I'm gonna lose a finger. I know I'm going to lose a finger at some point.
But you haven't.
I haven't yet, but they're such cool animals. Man, that's dope, dude. Sorry.
But yeah,
that was a weird.
They've never bitten me before. I mean, only if you get a stupid one.
Okay.
You might bite.
You don't want
that's what I would get. That's what I would get. I would be stupid with a stupid one. Yeah, and then I'd lose my pinky or something. Well, Nate, Lola, let's transition.
Hold on. No. Before we transition.
Let's not transition.
You tell him.
Let's not. Like,
tell me.
I mean, that's a pretty awesome job. I want to know what like the
is.
craziest horse training story is.
Yeah, that's a good question, Nate. Yeah, these guys.
I don't know if these can be shared with the internet. I mean, honestly, there's some.
Oh my gosh! Now I have to know.
Yeah.
Well, like, I mean, there's like things that just happen every day that you're like, all right, horse stepped on my foot, the horse flipped on top of you. That sort of thing. Like, it's like, I mean, it's like just stuff that happens.
It's like normal.
I mean, like if you raise them from like a baby, you've got to like keep on like messing with them so that way and training them and breaking them is what it's called.
Right.
To get them so that way you can actually get on them and ride them and compete in them with them anyway. So that way they don't try to buck you off or do anything stupid, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, there's like those kind of random things that happen. I mean, I can't pull up anything off the top of my head, but that's like exact stories or anything like that. But yeah.
All right.
Well,
it's a pretty interesting job.
Did you grow up then riding horses?
Ever since I was a baby.
Wow, that's pretty dope though.
Yeah,
that's really cool. Yeah.
He still has his fingers, I think. I mean, I haven't seen your hands, but
all fingers.
Please look at them. There they are.
Yeah. But even the fact that you were so like chill about, and they roll over on top of you. I'm like, no, that's not like.
Well, that's not happened to me yet. So
okay. Well, good. Hopefully, we're not cursing you by bringing it up.
I got ran over, but that's about it. That's the worst.
Oh, just run over.
No big whoop. Yeah. So what kind of horses are you raising, and what are you talking, like race horses or like show trick type stuff or what? I don't know anything, but
yeah, we do half Arabs and full Arabs.
Okay.
So they're really pretty horses. I mean, most of them are pretty,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, they're a lot of fun. It's an interesting job. It's something a little different, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
It keeps it interesting, But
are they for like Jordan said, like, are they to race or to, what did you say?
I don't know.
Show
ponies.
So pretty much we do hunter and Western. So those are two different like categories of showing horses. There's other ones like English, jump horses, as you said before, race horses, those sort of things. There's a bunch of others. But yeah, hunter and Western. So I don't know how to explain this properly. Let's see. So pretty much we raise them so that way, or sometimes clients bring us a horse that was already pre-broke, or they give us a baby, or we have them bred and brought here so that they can be broken and trained.
Okay.
So that way they can properly be shown. And then we take those horses, we set up our whole like setup and everything to keep them all there during like a show. So like we go down to Florida a lot for Ocala shows down there, because Florida's like big for horses and stuff like that down there.
Sure.
So we pretty much, there's like different, it's almost like tournaments, I guess you could say. So It's like you'll have a bunch of horses in the ring, and they're all like prettied up. The riders are properly dressed and everything like that. And they ride around the ring. So like the announcer will say like, put your horses to the jog or walk them or go into the lineup. And the judges are judging them based on a bunch of different things: horse movement, riders, like the ability to steer their horse and make sure it doesn't run into other people, making sure their head is properly oriented. And then there's different, like making sure the rider's sitting up properly. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into it. And that's like just
wild.
Yeah, it's cool.
And then hunters like different as well. So it's pretty much, it's everything. It's kind of wild.
That's neat, dude. What a cool job. How did your, I don't want to go too far down this like path, but it's really interesting to me because I don't know anything.
Yeah.
How did your dad get into this? Was it a family thing before him even, or how did that start?
Yeah, his dad did it, and then I'm pretty sure his dad's dad did it as well.
Wow.
And then I think
cool.
I think it goes back. I think it goes back 6 generations,
Holy
maybe.
crap,
that's
dude.
awesome.
Wow.
I think about that, but yeah. So we've been doing it for a while.
Wow, that is really neat, dude. That's
Are
really.
you going to carry it on?
I probably will not be, but my brother really wants to. He's really
okay.
I'm not as much into it as he is. Like I used to show and compete in the horses and everything like that, and I got out of that about 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. And he's like all into it, and so is my little sister and my little brother and everything. Like they're
big family. You come from a big family?
Yes, very big family.
How big? Tell us.
5 kids and 2 parents. So
okay, that's what's up.
Pretty big.
Yeah, that's great, dude.
That's
Good
why
for
the
you.
house is a little wild tonight.
Yeah, I got you.
That's why I'm not in my
right.
office.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's why we come to the garage.
Yeah, so I run a
podcast.
garage. Yeah, because we have 6 kids. Nate has 2. I mean, Nate needs to step it up. 2 I mean, that's easy. We got half a dozen. But, no, it's
Ain't
not
no
easy.
stepping up here.
No, it ain't easy, dude. Raising a child is not easy. But we're at that point. Like, what was that show that was on for the longest time? Like that Kennedy liked so much.
The Duggars?
Yeah, the Duggards or whatever, where you got enough kids where one kid to take care of the other kids, and then you just kind of chill. You don't even have to parent anymore.
Once you have 3, it's like.
Yeah, but all right, so let's transition before we get into and Brendan, we appreciate you taking the time to walk us through all of that. That's dope, dude. I love getting to know you as a dude. This is rad. And really honestly, like from the bottom of my heart, I really hope you get into a teener this year in that lake that you're talking about. I really hope it works out, dude. That's a cool. Woof, that's a tough strategy. I can't even when I go to the lake and I tell myself today I am only, I don't know what, free rigging, because I don't usually throw the free rig. So today I'm only free rigging. I'm not bringing a jig with, I'm not bringing a swim bait. That is so hard for me to like stay dedicated to learn that one. You're talking about sticking to one lake. Woo. Yeah, that takes some dedication, dude. I respect the frick out of it. I really actually do. So I really hope it works out. But before we transition into you teaching us all about swim baiting, how to throw them, when to throw them, what to throw them on, where to throw them. Hopefully you're cool with talking hard versus soft swim baits, the whole shebang, whatever you want to walk us through. Before we get there, let's talk some taco stuff. Because you're in Georgia. I'm quite certain you got some good taco stuff there. So Lola, give us a good taco question for our new pal.
Is there a favorite spot that you go to get tacos?
Of course there is. I will shout them out right here.
Of course,
they're great people, super great people. La Jolla Mexican restaurant. So it's in Dublin, Georgia. They honestly, it's like a little tiny hole in the wall, like Mexican restaurant.
Love
the
it.
best.
Love it.
You know, they have the best. But I mean, they've got like so many amazing foods. I'm not the biggest taco person. I'm more of a nacho person.
I love nachos.
I
love nachos.
Yeah.
And you know what's weird is like most Mexican food is pretty much the same thing. It's just in a slightly different form. Like the tortillas.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. Enchiladas to fajitas to nachos. Yeah, you're exactly right.
And if you're having nachos, it's just tortilla chips.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so La Jolla, shout out. You said La Jolla, right? That's the spot. Okay, awesome.
That's it.
What do you get there?
Oh man, there's so many different good things from there. But I would like to point out their rice. It's pink. It is. It's really interesting. Like it's got these weird like spices in it and stuff.
Okay.
It's amazing. Literally the best Mexican rice I've ever had on my life. And they also have the best cheese sauce I've ever eaten in my life.
Whoa.
And my tacos are normally 65% cheese sauce.
Okay. I love it, dude. Yeah, we're from Wisconsin, so we're tracking with you.
Heck yeah. But yeah, usually I get a if it's gonna be a taco, it's usually a hard shell taco.
Okay. All right.
With the marinara pork. And some steak on it as well. Cilantro, lots of cheese sauce, lots of shredded cheese as well.
Dang.
But that's the normal taco. And then they have this red sauce and green sauce. I'm not sure what they call it. it's pretty spicy, so I put it on there. I put all of it on there.
Attaboy. Okay.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But that's my that would be my go-to right there.
Okay, Nate, did you notice that he left out one ingredient?
Onion.
Yep.
Are you an onion fan, Brennan?
I like them on cheeseburgers, not on tacos.
Oh man, Nate, you got a buddy.
It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right.
They don't. There's no place for them. There really is.
Heck yeah.
No
There we go.
place.
Yeah. And if you think like his tacos taken up by meat and cheese, that's really what you need. Like you don't have any other room for
There ain't no room for onions.
Yeah, there's no need. Yeah,
I got no
stick to the
tortilla
good
left,
stuff.
no onions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, load it down. What's the favorite meat of choice on the nacho? So you're a big nacho guy.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I like steak and that marinara pork. That pork there, it's like melt in your mouth. Like it's amazing. Like it's like the best thing on the face of the earth. That pork.
Wow.
They have some really good steak.
That's a statement.
With lots of
It
cheese
is kind of a
sauce.
statement.
Yeah,
Yes, lots of cheese sauce. I put the rice and the beans on there, jalapenos.
Oh my gosh.
Slather the whole thing in that spicy sauce.
Chip by chip. Yum, yum.
I'm looking it up right now.
Yes.
In Dublin, you said, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there it is.
There you go.
I just saw the pink rice. Whoa, that's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
pink too. That's wild.
It's like
yeah.
peachy pink.
Yeah, I hope nobody who's watching this just saw me on my phone. Is like, dude, you're on your phone during a podcast. I'm looking up stuff that he's talking about just to be specific. I'm not quite that. I'm not quite that ghetto or that disrespectful of our friend here. So, any other follow-up taco questions before we get after it?
Oh
Lola,
gosh.
Nate, what you got?
I don't know.
You do any cooking yourself at all?
I was just about to ask. Yeah, there is a kitchen in the background there.
Yeah.
So no, I'm 19, so my mom just cooks everything for me. I'm just like,
Yep.
19,
I don't have any,
dude.
I don't have any need to cook for all that. I'm just like, I'll learn it whenever I'm building my own house. That's whenever I have my own house. That's when.
When the cooking will come.
That's the important time to cook. That is, yeah.
Yes.
That's
We just
awesome.
had Mexican just the other night, and we have our own like cows and everything, so we get them like processed and everything. So we have our own ground beef and everything.
Oh,
steak.
that's awesome.
Tonight we just had baby back ribs actually.
Okay.
So, but yeah, we just had
Very nice.
Yeah, so that's when I'll get into cooking eventually.
How were the ribs prepared? I'm curious.
No, I couldn't tell you. Honestly, I couldn't tell you.
Mom,
He put his hands up like,
come
don't,
here,
don't.
please.
Yeah,
Right.
that's dope.
Yeah, all I can say is they tasted really good.
Golly,
That's
19,
that's really all that
dude.
matters.
It is.
That's legit. 19, and you're already killing the game with like swim baits and whatever.
I told
That's
you
really,
I felt like I could be his grandmother. Okay, I'm not.
you
that
might
old,
be.
but-
You might. You maybe could be. But all right, let's get to the. Speaking of meat and cheese, let's get to the meat and potatoes of this podcast. The why. I do a good decent bit of like swim bait fishing. I will say up here in Wisconsin, before we even like let you go, and we want you to go and just let it rip, Tater Chip. But up here in Wisconsin in Clearwater, one way that I really use swim baits a lot is sort of like a search tool. And I know that's not entirely unique. I know that happens all over. People in the Delta and California talk about that. But I have absolutely thrown a swim bait in clear water and just kind of had like a big glide bait walking across like grass flats and whatever, and had fish kind of come up even if they don't hit it, and I got a wacky or something that I just toss back in there and just they come up and crack it. I've also caught quite a few fish that are 9 inches long on big old swim baits and whatever, but it is a really cool way to fish. And I think my obsession, let me just tell this quick little story, which I think I sort of shared on the Big Bass podcast episode when we had Ken and Terry on,
Dude, I love those guys.
Yeah, they're so rad, dude.
They're super cool.
We could have on that episode, we could have just sat down and been like, go, and then just not said a word, and they could have filled hours, and it would have been good hours of like knowledge and whatever.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Ken and Terry are like two like my favorite people.
Yeah, they're incredible, and they're just so freaking nice too. Like they're super smart. They know more than anybody else in the world of bass fishing, and they're so nice about it. Like it's so funny to me. But we were talking about the first time I ever saw a hard swim bait was a castaic. Can you just put this over by you? Is that all right? That's one of my hard. You don't have to put on. I mean, I guess you can leave it on your lap if you want.
It?
No, I mean,
so
I
then
just
you
think
can put stuff.
I guess. Anyway.
Okay, sorry.
So one of the first ever. Let me get close to the camera for a second.
Oh heck yeah, hardhead.
It's so cute.
I saw this castaic swim bait in a Bass Pro Shops catalog. Nate and I have talked about this at length. When we were kids, we would get like, our homies would get like Toys R Us catalogs. We would get Bass Pro catalogs and circle stuff. And I remember getting one of these, and I can't remember if my dad bought it for me or my mom. But I was little, and they were like, you must be on some kind of drugs. $25 for a bait? Like, no way. Because back then Rapalas were like $2.99. And the big thing for me, where my sort of obsession or just my love for swim bait stuff came in, was this was the first time I ever saw a bait that really, really, really looked like a bait that fish eat. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Because like as much as like the Rapala, like original minnow has a cool little quiver, or throwing a Texas rig looks cool, or throwing a Cinco, but like this looks like something that I see swim in the water.
Yeah.
And that was the first time that I was ever like, why don't we throw more stuff that looks like the stuff that gets eaten by the fish we're targeting? Like, why am I not throwing stuff that looks like their actual food?
I never saw these until we met.
Yeah.
Until we were going through
it's
your
not
stuff.
that. Yeah. It's not all that common.
And that's kind of crazy to me.
It doesn't just make sense.
It
like,
makes sense.
Bass eat bluegills. Why don't I make a bait that looks exactly like a small bluegill, moves like a regular fish, like the tail kicks back and forth, and I can crank it kind of slow and make it an easy target, whatever.
Like, why wouldn't you?
But it was ever since then, as a kid, I've been throwing swim baits, and I love them, and they're fun. And even, some lures are made to catch fishermen, and I honestly don't care, because some of them just look so cool. They're just fun to look at. Let's go. Brendan, I have never thrown a swim bait in my life, but I want to get into it. I'm very intrigued, maybe how I was as a kid when I first saw the castaic, or Lola, who's never really thrown swim baits.
I have not, actually. So this is for me.
Help us out. Where would you start in this crazy world?
Okay, so if you need me to hit, if you need me to pause, and if you guys want to ask a question or comment or whatever, you just say shut up or whatever. Okay. That's all you need to do. One thing to add about that bluegill bait, I would like to tell you guys this, that you see all the fins on that bait? Mm-hmm. Have you ever seen a bluegill swim with its fins sticking out all over the place? They're tucked in whenever it swims.
No, probably not. No, probably not. Yeah.
So that's something I do. Like, I clip fins off of baits sometimes. So
that's a good point.
If they're a swimmer, if you swim it. Now there are other baits like baits that you fish on the bottom that I don't really care to clip the fins off. But that's
a really good point. Yeah, that's exactly it. If you're observing nature, and that's how they swim. Who was it that was talking about when they flip jigs? I think this is maybe a little overkill, but maybe not. It might have been Christy Hackney, somebody who's just a jig flipping master. They were saying how, like, sometimes on their trailer they'll clip off one of the claws on the crawdad, because so often crawdads will have a claw bitten off by a fish, and so they'll have just that one, and so they'll do that on purpose to make it look like an old beat up crawdad. And I was like, wow, like that's that observation.
Maybe an easier meal or something. For sure.
Yeah.
I have no confidence in the craw. Like, whenever a bluegill bites off the craw, I'm like, I have to change it. Like, I have to. Like,
I'm the exact same.
I can't do it.
Yeah. And some guys do it on purpose. So who knows?
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you want me to start off with a rod and reel real quick?
Let's go. Yeah. Do everything you think. If somebody's like curious about this crazy world of swim bait fishing, what do I do?
All right. First thing is, there's no bait that will catch your fish just because it's a bait. You need to put in the time with a quality bait, or I shouldn't say a quality bait. I should say a proven bait. So there's no magical bait out there. Don't go out there buying 5,000 different swim baits. It's not It's not the best way to go about learning it. Get 3, maybe 4, and learn those few, and make sure they're proven baits. So I have a couple here that are good beginner baits that I'll show in a little bit. But you also don't need a dedicated swim bait rod either if you want to just get into it and kind of dip your toes into it. You can use like a big jig rod and throw monofilament. I use Berkeley Big Game for most of my setups, unless I'm fishing something with a beast hook in it. If you guys don't know what beast hook is, it's basically just a big giant jig hook in the bait right there.
Now I know what it is. Thank you.
Yeah.
We have some in the boat.
It's weedless, pretty
I've
much.
seen them, but I didn't know what they were called.
Yep.
But But yeah, so yeah, if it's like you can use your jig rod and you can throw like something like a HUD 68, which is a great beginner soft swim bait. They're cheap, they're super available, and they're also pretty darn weedless. So you don't have to worry about losing this thing, which is a big thing with beginners. Is they're like, all right, I'm spending all this money. Yep. You're spending all this money on this bait, and you're gonna possibly lose it. Well, that's the good thing about these guys is you can swim them and throw them on the bottom. Basically, this is replacing a jig. So you can throw this in the exact same places and work it in the exact same places. You can work a flipping jig or a swim jig. It's just bigger and different, a little different,
Yep.
So you can reel it real close to the surface and give it a little bit of a wake, or you can flip it right under trees and under like lily pads and stuff, or you can work it like over deep structure in 20-foot water. And most of the time, the only time really you're going to get snagged on something is if you leave it sit, if it's on its side, and then you start reeling and it gets hooked into something. So like if it's like a tree branch like this and you're swimming it and it rolls and it gets hooked in there. It's a pretty darn snackless bait. But yeah, the River Sea S-Waver is also a good one. That's a great one for beginners.
Yeah, Nate loves that one.
Yeah, that's a solid one. The 168. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, this is the 168. I think this is one that might be able to see a little bit better.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, I love the powder color. It's just like pretty much white. The powder color and the bluegill color. Because the bluegill one just kind of breaks up the pattern. The light trout one's solid too, but those are all like great like beginner ones. I mean, you can't really go wrong with like a simple like white or like blue pattern.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially for that bait. But yeah, those ones are good. Like I would honestly just start off with a HUD 68 if you get 2 of these.
And when you say HUD, what brand are you referring to?
Huddleston. Yep.
Yeah.
So this is a Huddleston.
Just want to make sure in case somebody tried to look up HUD, it's Huddleston, Huddleston, Huddleston.
Yep.
Yep.
They've been doing it forever.
Yeah, I don't have any of those baits. I definitely need to buy some, but I did some research on them a while back, and they call them the HUD 68 because it's the 6-inch version of the swim bait with the 8-inch tail, the tail from the 8-inch version. So it really thumps. That's
it's got a lot of kick for smaller bait. Yeah. That they say on the 68 that the tail. What's that phrase? Like, don't let the tail walk the dog or whatever that is. Like, I don't know, but it kind of does that in the swimming world because that tail just rocks the whole bait. Kind of like how a mag draft gets all tippy back and forth. Yeah. That 68, the tail really puts life through the whole thing. Yeah. It's a really unique design.
Yeah. And it works great in colder water because the bait's going to stiffen up a little bit more because it's a soft plastic. Plastic is going to stiffen up a little bit more. So if you're fishing like say 40-degree water versus 80-degree water, your bait's going to swim a little bit different. And also your baits are going to sink different if you have a really finely tuned bait. So those more expensive ones, they're usually better tuned. So they might sink not as slow, or they might even float depending on your water temperature, because the colder water will make it, or the colder water is more dense, so it'll make your bait float possibly. So like this bait, I can't remember the exact temperature, but this one right here, the Tato Eon, another killer beginner bait if you have the money for it. This one is floating just the other week in the water, and it normally has a super, super slow sink. So water temperature does play into it. But back to the beginner whole deal, HUD 68 and a River Sea S-Waver, those are both killer little baits for beginners. They don't weigh a ton. I think this weighs like 1.5 ounces maybe. And don't listen to like what the rod says on your rating. Most rods can handle more than that. I mean, like it's true, but like a jig rod, like a 7.6 heavy fast action, that'll throw this bait and the S-Waver perfectly fine. Just put on like say 20-pound Berkeley big game. Now the only thing is that where I kind of like have a tough time with this is if you're in a kayak or a paddleboard, it's a little bit different with your line, because the problem is you're down low to the water and you can't set the hook on something that has a jig hook in this as easy with big game, because big game has a ton of stretch in it. Right. So I would recommend maybe doing like a 10-foot big game leader and just run braid for the rest of the time. If you're throwing something with a jig hook or beast hook in it, especially if you're in a kayak, because that's the big thing. Because you've got so much stretch in the line that it's hard to whack them and make sure the boat's like not moving forward. Because whenever you whack them on like a kayak or something, your kayak's going to move forward, and that line has so much stretch in it, it's kind of hard to keep the fish pinned, especially with something like a beast hook or a jig hook. treble hook
That's a really
baits.
good point.
Dude, smart.
Yeah.
Treble hook baits, you just run basically a giant crankbait rod is what you're running on a treble hook bait. You can throw fluoro. I personally think the fluoro is a scam because it breaks easier than monofilament or big game does. You know, I just change out the big game every week or 2 fishing trips, whichever comes first. So that's what I run. That's what I would recommend for beginners. Just run big game. Just go with this and an S waiver, and you'll be set for a while. Just try it out. And those are 2 proven baits that get bites that you can, throw around that are not too expensive and they're readily available. So those are baits. Rods, Dobbins 795 is a killer option. You can usually find them on sale, or you can get them used for like $100. So it's a really good deal if you want to get a dedicated swim bait rod. For that rod, I would recommend like a 200 size reel. Pick your poison. Just use a Tatula 200 or a Corrado 200. I'm a big Shimano guy. I only throw Shimano reels because I like to service my own reels, and they all are pretty much the same thing inside. So it helps me out and everything. Like I can close my eyes and fix them or whatever, And they all feel the same too. Like it doesn't matter if you're throwing like a 300 or a 200, they kind of feel the same, and I know what to expect with them. Yeah.
Right.
But that's
what gear ratio on a swim bait reel? What are you looking for?
All of my swim bait reels. I know I'm probably going to get some heat from this if there's swim bait guys that watch this, but I throw all 7 gears. So anything like I have the Corrado 200 in a 7 gear. All the Tranxes are in 7 gears, and then my Scorpions, I think those are 7 gears as well. So those are, and the Antares I think is an 8 maybe. So those are all.
You like that? You like that Antares reel?
I do. The only reason I have one, I'm not one to buy super expensive equipment like that
they're high
all the time.
Yeah.
I found it used for like $200.
Oh wow.
So a really good resource to go to for like used gear and used swim baits is Swim Bait Underground and Swim Bait Universe. You can find I saw a Corrado there for $68 and I bought it.
Wow.
Like, dude, crazy cheap stuff. Like I bought some swim baits from there all the time. It's a great place to find used gear. So if you guys want to if there's any beginners out there that want to get, and I've gotten like when I first started out, guys gave me free swim baits to try out, like there's some super nice guys on there, so I've given out some stuff to some dudes.
It's like a community.
It is. Yeah. It's like a message board and well, I mean, super in-depth message board, but yes, SU is a pretty big deal for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of whining that goes on in both of those boards, but you just gotta it's everywhere.
Just filter through.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So you said that you might catch some crap for saying like a 7. What are most guys throwing swim baits on in terms of gear ratio? And if you would be so kind, if anybody's listening, they don't know what that means. What does gear ratio mean in a fishing reel?
Yeah, so gear ratio is pretty much how many inches per turn your reel is taking in line. So a 7 gear is going to be faster than a 6 gear, and a 6 gear is going to be faster than a 5 gear. So it pretty much is, a higher number. The higher first number means a more inches per turn. I don't think it makes that big of a deal on like soft baits because I can just reel slower, and I'm pretty disciplined on reeling slower, even when I would get amped up. Like if I see a fish following the bait, I can keep it I can keep it going. But I like that faster gear ratio because I have so much hard cover around here, like logs. We have gators. We've got all sorts of stuff. We've got docks that are like metal. I mean,
gators.
Like I want my bait to get in fast. Like if I've got a fish and I've got a gator coming in right next to it, trying to get the fish, I want to get the fish in, and I want to get the fish in the boat.
I want to get the heck out.
I mean,
I'm sorry.
She's like, F the gear ratio, fire up the main motor. Yeah.
Get me out.
Wow.
Okay, wait. Gear ratio. Yeah. Is that like on a bike? Like if you
essentially
change gears,
it is. No,
if
it actually
you go
is.
higher, then you pedal more and it goes around more times.
Yeah. So like he's saying on a gear ratio, all reels are late. Yeah, that's a really good way.
That helped my brain.
Of illustrating it. So like at
first I was like, am I going to sound real dumb?
It's always first number or first point something number, like 6.81. That 1 is just a full turn of the handle.
Okay.
So that means 6.8 spins of that spool, which depending on the spool size, there's some variations, but like he said, that's how many inches are coming in. So do most swim bait guys go the slower?
For soft baits, most of them do.
Yeah.
So that's why I was explaining the soft bait and why I like a faster gear ratio because of how I fish and where I fish, you know?
Yeah.
But with glide baits, a lot of guys use faster reels because it helps you give the bait more control, I should say. Another big thing is handles, like oversized handles. So like the Go Nexus handles, ZPI makes some handles, DRT makes some handles. But Go Nexus ones are really solid. That's what I have on actually all of my reels.
Yeah.
They give you more control over baits that you use reel inputs with. So glide baits, that's a big thing because you're using your reel a lot of the time to give the bait inputs. So you can do some crazy stuff. Like you make baits like spin around, like do 360s, and you can steer them so then basically work their way under a dock and stuff like that. So you make them glide to one side and keep on going under there. And then you can keep on fishing them out under the dock if you make a bad cast or something like that. But yeah, so that's gear ratio and handles, because a bigger handle also will take in more line. So my reels are actually probably a little higher than, so like on my Corrado 200, it's a 7:1 gear ratio. So it's probably closer to 8 because I have a 120 millimeter handle.
Sure. Yep.
I don't know, but it basically gets more line in because it's bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I like that.
It makes sense, but it's crazy. My brain is melting.
Yeah, it's very specific. Yeah. Nate, tell us about, like, I know a couple of years ago, I think it was, that you started getting into like he was saying the S waiver, and then you used a couple of those like Lucky Craft, those goofy jointed ones that I gave you. Tell us about your kind of experience, what you know about swim bait fishing, and I know you haven't done it a ton, but your experience with it and what you want to learn, and I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not near to the level that Brendan is here, but you know, it's just kind of like he said. It took me a little bit, but learning that the way you crank the handle or the reel really is more controlling of the bait than, you know, jerking the rod tip or, you know, shaking it or something like that. Like using that reel to give that bait the action is you know, learning that is really helpful. That goofy little bait that you talked about, I got it right here. That Lucky Craft
live pointer.
I don't even remember what you call it.
Yeah, that little. Or is that?
No, that's a Lucky Craft. It looks like a Magic Swimmer. One. Yeah, it looks a lot like the Sebile Magic Swimmer. A lot like
the Sebile.
Interesting. Yeah, I've never seen that
one. But yeah, so like I said, I'm not nowhere near to his level. But I do have a little bait that I absolutely love, and it's this Evergreen ES Flat.
Ooh, those are good.
And
those are really good.
It is. I absolutely love this bait, and this is the bait that really turned me on to like learning the function of the reel. Is what's going to give this bait its action. And I don't know if you can see it on the camera or not, but this, you know, it's got some hook rash and, you know, teeth marks. I've caught a ton of fish on this bait. I absolutely love it. I'm pretty sure Evergreen discontinued it, of course. But yeah, so like I said, that's about it. I throw a lot of these baits on I think it's a 7.6 heavy, but it's a glass or like half glass composite rod. So I instead of having the stretch in the line with, you know, the big game or something, I'm throwing fluoro because I want that line to sink and be as clear as possible. And then I use that rod for a little bit more forgiveness, you know, when I set the hook or something like that. So again, probably why I don't catch a ton of fish on swim baits. That's just kind of why I do what I do. But you know, everybody's a little different, and it's definitely something that I want to expand on more this year. Which is why, you know, like Jordan said, we were super stoked to get you on here. So let's not talk. Let the man talk. Give us some more goods.
No, I think it's good to hear, you know, because we were talking about Brendan's story with where he started in fishing. I think everybody can relate to it. Like somebody like me who's done it quite a bit, but is nowhere near what I would call myself an expert, because it's not my go-to. You know, I have a decent selection of swim baits, and I've done it for quite a while, but I wouldn't. Like if somebody came to me and was like, "Hey, teach me about swim baits," I'd probably defer and be like, "Yo, go to this guy," you know? And not out of like fake humility. I'm just not an expert. Or maybe somebody like you who's done it a little bit, or somebody like Lola who's like, "Dude, these baits are so cool looking. What the heck do I do with them?" You know, I think everybody's in a spot on the journey, and it's also interesting. What are your thoughts on Brendan? pros using big swim baits and stuff in tournaments and stuff now. Like that's pretty crazy, right?
It's super interesting. I remember seeing Edwin Evers. I think it was at the last
Edwin
Red
does
Crest.
it too.
Yeah, he was in Oklahoma, I think. It was, I don't know, wherever the last Red Crest was. And he was throwing the bull shad trick shad, which is kind of a choppy, but it's like a smooth, choppy gliding bait. It's a really, really sweet like glide bait. But he just released it at the Red Crest, I believe, or maybe it was at the Classic last year. But Edwin had that, and he was smoking them over like at docks. It was like so cool to see it. And then like Matt Robertson, he's throwing all these other baits and everything. It's like super cool to see the guys like starting to figure it out. But like there's been guys doing this like on tournament level for years. So like Byron Velvick, I'm not sure if you guys know him.
Yeah, of course.
He's one of the OGs that like, I mean, he knows what he's doing out there in California.
Yeah, the California visor.
Yeah.
A good buddy of mine. Actually
really?
is fishing out of his 2006 Triton. So the boat he ran in 2006, a good buddy of mine owns that boat and fishes out of it today.
That's awesome. So I didn't know that. Yeah.
Oh, man. It's got that like good vibe going to it for the boat.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, he's got some mojo working for him for sure. Yeah.
And he's a stud too. So
that's so cool, dude. Man.
Heck yeah, dude. So Brendan,
he's got some crazy stuff.
Oh my gosh.
He's a master of that.
I think you're right. He's an OG. Like he started catching fish on like the big swim baits like so long ago that like people almost don't even bring him up in the conversation as they should. You know, a lot of those West Coast guys were on it so long ago that they've been almost forgotten about, which is kind of crazy. So you said the HUD 68 and the River to Sea S waiver. Do you have any other baits that you would recommend for somebody who's maybe starting or kind of in that middle ground? Because I do think in the swim bait world, it's an interesting deal. You know, I don't think most people are wanting to go get like a Roman made mother or, some absurdly expensive bait that if they lost it, it's like a week's pay.
Yeah.
What's another good bait for people who are trying to
250s and whatnot?
Yeah. Silly stuff. Yeah. What's some other baits that are good to kind of get yourself going if you want to get into the game, Brendan?
Yeah. The Jackal Ganarelle was actually one of the first baits, the first swim baits I ever threw was the Jackal Ganarelle. And the cool thing about it, especially for beginners, is it's a little different, but it floats. So that's a big thing. So you're not, if there you go right there. I think that's the junior one. That's a perfect size and color right there.
Yeah. It's a really eatable size.
Yeah. And it's perfect for like the North too, because it's a bluegill and kind of a shad shape. Like you just kind of pick your colors and everything. It's got a crappie color and everything. So bluegill are in most areas. So it has that profile, but it's not too tall. So the fish don't like bounce off of it or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like perfect, and it has swiveling hook hangers. I'm not too big on like that or whatever, but it's a good swimming bait. It's different though. Like it's a little different. It has side fins that act as the lip. So instead of having the lip on the front, it has those angled side fins that make it swim down a little ways. I think it goes to like 3 feet, somewhere around there. That's a great bait to fish for beginners because it floats. You can just slow crank it, and then every once in a while stop it, and it'll glide out to the side, then keep on going. And glide out to the side, and it keeps on going. It's a great beginner bait, super easy to retrieve. You can find them everywhere. Comes in a bunch of different colors. If you fish clear water, probably good to get like a transparent color. They have some good bluegill ones. Yeah. And then they have, my favorite is the bass pattern. It's my favorite one for the gig gantarelle, which is the bigger version of the regular gantarelle. Yep. And then there's the regular size gantarelle.
Yeah, this one that I have here is called the Ghost Gill. To your point, it's a really cool kind of pumpkin seed bluegill combo pattern, but it's transparent. Which with where we fish in the clear water, it's literally the main reason I bought this thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I'm just completely agreeing with you.
No, totally. And then the bass pattern for me, since I fish down south, so we have like a couple inches of visibility most of the time, maybe a foot, maybe a 2 foot on a good day if we haven't had any rain or anything. That bass pattern is really good for me because it has a nice hard like lateral line that's black. It also has a really bright silver. It has a nice green pearl over. So I like that one. I think it throws a little bit of light, a little better than the other colors. That's just me. But I kind of want to try that red one that they came out with. It's like a red carp. It's wild looking, but I want to try that one, see how it works down here. Because I don't throw any red swim baits. Like that's something I don't see many people doing. And I completely, forgot about it. And then I was going to paint up some for myself and to fish this spring for the pre-spawn. And I missed the pre-spawn. I didn't even throw the red. So I was like, dang it, I forgot about it. So I'm going to paint some hopefully this week for myself, so that way I can use them next pre-spawn in the summer. So
pre-spawn in February.
Yeah,
right.
That's crazy. That's so wild to me.
January. Yeah, because it's February now and it's about to be.
I guess. Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's ridiculous, dude.
Okay, so wait, real talk.
Yeah.
How often?
Give us some good questions, Bert. I really want to hear your perspective.
It's not a good
here.
one. It's about alligators. How
here we go.
often are you having an interaction with an alligator? Like why are you going where there are gators?
She has a full-blown phobia of alligators.
Like straight
actual.
up.
Yeah.
Cannot.
Oh man. Well, they're in pretty much most of the lakes and the rivers here.
I'm sorry, we're never coming to visit.
Oh man. Almost every time I go, for the most part, like I fish a bunch of private like ponds and stuff. If I just want to, like, if I only have like an hour, they're pretty close to my house, so I can just run over there real quick, catch a few fish. Most of those are like managed, so the guys like shoot the gators or whatever. Like some guy shot a 16-footer in one of them.
I kind of feel like I'm gonna throw up.
Holy crap!
I'm gonna vomit.
Jeez, in a little private pond, he shot a 16-footer.
Yeah.
Holy crap!
I can't feel my body.
Wow.
It's bigger than the boat I fished out of there.
Yeah.
Why did I ask?
That's kind of awesome, actually.
No.
I mean,
he wants to wrestle an alligator. Okay,
yeah,
this
man.
Dude, let's do it. Come on down.
Legitimately, actually. Yeah, because as I understand it, all their bite power is down. So like once you get their mouth shut, they're easy to keep shut. So I just want to hop on one.
6-footer.
I just want to hop on one.
We'll rope it.
Oh, that'd be so dope. I would legitimately actually do that.
Have fun.
Yeah.
All right, come on down.
I am not going.
Okay, so give us a fishing question, Lola. If you're like, if you want to fish a swim bait and you have
an alligator goes by.
No, not that.
No
more alligators.
Okay, I'm sorry.
She's obsessed. She can't get her brain off it.
Alligators.
Yeah, she can't get her brain off the alligator thing.
Let's change the title. Alligators. All questions. Alligators tonight.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Be like dry heaving through the whole thing.
Yeah, every once in a while we have to like mute her in the background. She's like throwing up
like
on the
crying.
couch. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, what do you want me to ask?
No, I just mean like if you wanted to fish swim baits with not as much knowledge about them, what would you ask a guy? Like, where do you start? Where do you throw them? I don't know.
How do you move your rod?
Yeah, like, that's a good question.
Do you do the thing?
Well, that's exactly it. See, like that's a big thing in the swim bait world.
What?
No, yeah, go ahead.
Do you jiggle it? What do you say? Because you don't want it to sit. That one, the had 68.
The HUD.
HUD. Yeah. Dang it.
You were there. You were there. Yeah, you're all right.
I need to go to bed.
Got that coffee working and you're thinking alligators. So you're just on a whole different thing right now.
Bad.
Yeah. You're going to go back and ask him a question. So what's your name? Where are you from? I'm like, are you serious?
Let's go.
Giving me dementia.
Yeah, for sure. She's losing it. Because like it's 9:30 here, which for us as parents of 6 kids, that's like 2 a.m.
I'm so tired.
Yeah, so we're just like delirious. But yeah, that's a great question though. Actually, I think I don't think you even realize how good of a question you actually just asked.
Thank you so
much. In the swim bait world, like I remember when I first heard Kyle Jochimson talking about working a swim bait, and I was so surprised at what he didn't do with his rod. So yeah, give us some insight there, Brendan. That's a great question, actually, Lola.
Alrighty, so that's kind of a loaded question. So
it is.
For most of the soft baits that I fish, it's generally a slow retrieve, and then sometimes I'll burn it in real quick. So it's pretty much just going down, and then it hops up the bottom, and then I let it sink down. So most of the soft baits I have, they kick on the way down, which is a big thing for me. So it's going down, it's sitting there on the bottom, it's kind of slowly dragging along, and then I'll pop it, and then it'll flutter down. And that's kind of getting a reaction strike. So like when you're fishing a lipless, if you're yo-yoing a lipless, it's pretty much the same thing, just slower in between like rips. So that's what the normal retrieve that I use for a citizen. I don't really swim these very often, but I can fish these as frogs too, which is pretty cool. We can get into that later and how this can use
please.
So a slow and steady retrieve, sometimes with occasional pops, depending on what mood your fish are in. So if you're fishing colder water, sometimes you want to pop that reel in. So that way it hops off the bottom to get that reaction strike. In the summer, I don't normally do that. I like a super slow retrieve to where that tail's just barely kicking back there. And that's what I normally do for soft baits.
That's it.
Glide baits, it gets into a completely different way. Some glide baits like rod inputs more than reel inputs, and most glide baits actually like reel inputs more. So if I'm working a bait and I see some fish behind it, I'll stop it. And if they don't bite it then, or if they don't, nose up on it and bite it, I'll pop it a few times with the reel. So it's kind of like working a frog. Well, most people don't work it like that, but there's really isn't any other baits out there that you work with your reel. So you're pretty much doing.
I was gonna say, show me with your hand.
Turns. Partial turns on the reel. Like
I feel like my hand wouldn't. It would just. I don't know.
Yeah, that's where the big handle helps.
It's weird at first. It's super weird at first. Yeah.
Yeah, but you basically turn the reel like quarter turns or third turns depending on what bait. Because different baits like different inputs, which is another thing you got to learn. That's why it's good to stick with a few baits so you can learn the inputs. Because with glide baits, it's kind of weird because some baits like different inputs. So some glides like rod inputs. So you might want to put your rod like a jerk bait to get it to glide out like that. Or you use your reel.
They were also finicky.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But yeah, so rod inputs, reel inputs sometimes. It just depends on the bait. That's why it's a good thing to put in time with your baits. That's the biggest thing, That's the biggest thing right there is put in time with baits that are proven. And that's one of the bigger
Not
things.
had 68, the HUD 68.
HUD 68.
It's proven.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try it.
What was that? What was that you were just holding up right there, Brendan? What bait was that?
Yeah, that's a 316 workhorse. That is my favorite glide bait of all time. I don't know why
316 makes some of the coolest stuff. Oh, there you go. That's perfect.
Good.
Yeah, 316 makes some freaking awesome stuff.
But yeah, Mickey Ellis is the guy who owns the company. His baits have caught multiple fish up to 20 pounds. This workhorse, I think, has caught a 17. There's tons of 10s on them, but this is my favorite bait of all time. I have a bunch of them. It's like my fate. This is like if I had one bait to fish with the rest of my life, that would be this in this color.
Wow. There's an endorsement. Sheesh.
It's the bait. It is the glide bait. And there's a bunch of reasons why, but that's the one right there.
Okay. It's you like their soft stuff too, or no?
I do. I love his soft stuff. They're incredible baits. Incredible.
That's all I have of theirs is there's some of their soft swim baits. I don't have any of their hard stuff, but
do you have the mission fish?
I do, and I have what's the one that the Rising Sun? Isn't that? Yeah, that's a
Rising
killer.
Sun. You sent me a bunch of those links, didn't you? A while back.
Yeah, there's something about them, dude. And the funny thing is, when you look at them, they don't. I don't know if it's the formulation in the plastic, the specificity in the shape. They don't look all that bananas. Like they don't. You look at it, and it doesn't really look all that different than a regular kind of chunky boot tail swim bait, like an Optimum Boom Boom or something. But man, they swim perfectly. They move perfectly. Like you said, you can use them as like a topwater frog if you have like an unweighted 6-7 beast type.
This one I use with the weight. There's a special way about this one. I'll get into that if you want.
But yeah, they're just next level good. They just work. So, and they're not even. I mean, they're not super cheap, but they're not absurdly expensive.
No, they're perfect soft baits for beginners.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly,
they're
the Rising Suns, the Mission Fish. But his baits are special because he hand carves the masters. Most people 3D print them and use either a negative or a 3D printed master. He hand carves these. This used to be he hand carves a master and then pours silicone over it and makes a mold of it. So every bait was a block of wood at one point.
That's
which is amazing. His consistency about how everything is about the bait, like how like just the scaling, everything, the detail work on the face and everything. It's just jaw dropping, like what he can do, and on the scale he's doing too. Like his consistency on the hard baits is insane because those were all wood at one point as well. Not the actual bait, but he carved a master.
Right.
It's insane. The consistency, it's almost better than an ABS bait at times. Like it's insane. His stuff is, I mean, I would go to say it's the best on the market. Like it's caught the most big fish, maybe other than the Huddleston or a Depths 250. Those two kind of have, pretty good holding spots. But yeah, those three brands right there, 316 Huddleston and the Depths 250. Those are like three, that have caught the most probably 10-pounders.
Yeah, I remember a few years ago, I was reading an article. I think it was on 3-4 years ago. It was on like Bassmaster, like on Facebook or something. They were talking about the Rising Sun, and every other comment was, oh yeah, they're the best. And then the next comment was like, stop talking about this shit. Like people didn't want people knowing about it. Like all these dudes, it was like super encouraging. And the next one was like, shut up. Like back. And so I was like, okay, this must be legit. I think that's how I got turned on to it, because I was so thrown off by so many people being so mad that people were talking about it. And then the stuff is just, it's the deal. It's absolutely the deal. How do you?
It's super funny you mentioned that, Jordan, because just the other night, we talked about Terry and Ken Duke, and Ken Duke's got that Night After Dark. He just did one
Bass After Dark. It's so funny.
Yeah, Bass After Dark. Yeah, he just did one the other night. I watched a little bit of it where he's talking about like baits that have been forgotten, and like how a lot of times the fishermen are the reason that these great baits get discontinued for reasons just like you're saying, like. They're such fantastic baits. They catch so much fish, but nobody talks about them. Nobody, nobody endorses them because nobody wants anyone else fishing them. They just want to say exactly. They want to save it to themselves, and then that bait gets discontinued, and then they're like, "Oh my god, how am I going to find these baits?"
I'm like, well, you shouldn't have kept it so secret, stupid.
Exactly.
That's why you buy a bunch of them, so that way you keep a stock of them.
Gotta, you gotta load up on them. Yeah, for sure. So talk about Brendan. You mentioned it earlier, and we're kind of bouncing around now, but.
Okay.
I'm okay with that. To Lola's question about how do you work in a swim bait? You talked about swim bait spinning, and that, I don't mean spinning as in like tipping sideways, but I mean like turning where the front of the bait is now turned around. Yep. Talk about that, would you?
So it's doing tricks.
Essentially.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. So like if you got fish following it behind it. And some swim baits won't do this. Some will. Also, your rod and reel plays a big part into this as well. So some rod and reels don't let other baits do this. So you might have a bait that does it and you don't know it. So a higher gear ratio is usually better. But you can reel the bait in. You've got fish behind it, and you can't seem to get them to commit to the bait. So you're working the bait. You can chop it a few times. If you're say you're doing a straight retrieve, you're retrieving it over a laydown. You get some followers. And then you stop the bait, you give it a few chops or glide it out. And the fish still don't commit, and they seem kind of interested still. But you can burn that bait in real quick and give it a twirl, and the bait will spin around. And sometimes that will actually get bites. That will actually make those fish commit.
Yeah.
So
what do you do?
It's
Show me your hands.
Some people do it with the rod, and they do a quick pump with the rod, and it pulls in a few feet of line, and then they stop it and give the rod. Like they basically do this. And then give the rod some line sometimes. Or you can do it with your reel and just reel it in real fast and then give it some line.
I feel like I get too excited and I'd like throw my rod or something. I don't even know. Like, I'd be like, and then it would be bad. But
it's a weird not many people do it. It's a little like niche, I should say. Not many people.
Yeah, I hear people talk about it, getting it to spin, but I also think do you remember a few years ago when Rapala kind of fell on their face with that what's it called, the scatter wrap or whatever, where I think it was, where they were basically trying to emulate. This is a thing that goes, we're not here to talk about balsa baits, but god dang it, I love balsa baits so much, dude. I know Nate's into them too. But a bunch of years ago, dudes were customizing their crankbaits by just literally melting the bill with a lighter so that the bill would make a weird shape or whatever, so that it wouldn't run straight. It would run kind of cockeyed, or it would come back and forth or whatever, because in nature, a fish doesn't go and just track straight all the time. They even in schools, when there's giant schools, they're darting all over. And again, I don't remember who it was. Gosh, dog, what's that? Butch Brown? Is that the dude's name? Butch?
Yep.
Is it Butch Brown?
Yep, Butch Brown.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
it's not like your dad or grandpa or something, is it?
No, he's not. I checked.
Okay.
I asked him. I asked some people, and I was like, "Dang."
Okay.
I was like, "Do we have an uncle named Butch Brown?"
Yeah, I wish, right?
Chance?
Yeah. This legend and big bait fishing. And have you watched interviews with that sucker? That boy is wild, dude. That's a strange cat, dude.
He's one cool guy that he knows some stuff.
Oh my gosh. He's so on point with like swim bait stuff that when he talks, it's like he's speaking a different language, and you almost have to like rewatch what he's saying, because you're like, wait, what? I gave 2 pumps on the what, and I flared him on a chop, and then he spun him 180, but not the full what, and he came up, and I mean, he's just so specific. But I think it might have been him, but he was talking about that, how fish don't swim in a straight line. And if you can make your big swim bait turn like really hard, whether it's a 90 or a 180 even, it just really convinces the fish that are following it, like, number one, this is a real fish, and number two, that fish just effed up, like he went the wrong direction, and like it's going to be an easy meal now, you know. So if a fish is tracking behind a swim bait and you can get it to spin, that fish is like, oh, this is easy. You know, you're making it like an easy meal. And so it's a tricky little deal, but yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense too.
Yeah. And if you're reeling your bait, like say a glide bait or whatever, sometimes I'll give it rod pumps and just make it shoot like really far and fast, just to get a reaction strike to see, like, even if there's not fish following it, like even, you know, 'cause water clarity here, usually I don't see followers. We just don't have the vision here. Like I can't see, like, unless I go to a clearer lake where I can see, I usually don't know if I'm getting followers or not until they get like right to the boat, you know?
Oh, dang.
So
How
that's a big
far are
thing
you
here.
casting this out? Is that a good
Depends
question?
on what I'm going for. I mean, if I'm fishing like around cypress trees or whatever, I might be pitching it right up next to them, or a dock. I might be standing out, you know, parallel with the dock or against, like, on side of the dock or anything like that. Yeah, it just depends on the scenario.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not a dumb question at all. It's like any bait. Yeah, it kind of depends on what you're fishing, where you're fishing, whatever.
Yeah.
Gosh, dog, I just had a really good question for you in my head, but now I lost it. It was so good too. Give me a sec. It'll come back. It was just like
the best question.
Yeah. Oh, that was what it was.
See?
Why do we get so many follows on swim baits versus other type of baits? Or is it just that we don't see them as much on other types of baits and we do actually get follows?
You get them on some other baits, like various topwaters, like larger topwaters. Sometimes you get followers. Bigger spinner baits, you get followers sometimes. But swim baits, it's like probably the size, and not as many people are throwing them. Nowadays, a lot of people are throwing them, but still there's not a ton of people that know what they're doing that are throwing them. So if you don't, like, sometimes, like, if you're not knowing what you're doing can sometimes kill other bites that are going on the lake. And we can get into that later if you want, or now or whatever. But
let's hear it.
I completely forgot about the question. Followers. Sorry.
Yeah, why do we get followers? I mean, I've always thought of it. No, I'm so bad. You said you had ADHD. I'm 100% sure I do as well. I've always thought of it, and again, I don't know everything, but I've always thought of it as like a curiosity thing. Like you said, people aren't throwing them, and it looks like a meal for the fish as it's whatever, but they're probably kind of like, what is this thing? You know, just
and it's big too. It's like something they just don't see, or a lot of the time when they see something big like that, it means that it's real. I really don't think that fish are thinking that these hard baits are real, but I feel a fish is thinking the soft baits are real. That's why I think I see more big fish getting caught on soft baits than hard baits. Because number one, they're silent. Number two, they look more real. Number three, they feel real. So when a fish bites them, it feels like a real fish. So it lets them hold on a little bit longer. Might give you extra second or so.
That's
so
a good
big
insight.
Things. And they don't have hooks hanging off of them. It's pretty, most of them don't have hooks hanging off of them. So they're pretty stealthy. It just looks like a real fish. And it also has the tail kick. But yeah, hard baits, like, I mean, if a fish saw one of these, like, I mean, it's pretty obvious which one you would rather hit if you were a fish, right? I mean, it'd be the one that looks real, that sounds, you know, or doesn't sound like anything.
Doesn't have
like
things hanging off of it.
Exactly. And that's a big thing too for me, is I use smaller hooks than most people. I use like crankbait hooks. I mean, these are actually kind of big on this bait, but yeah, I use like super light wire hooks, and I just don't set the hook on treble hook baits. I just load into them because the line's got a ton of stretch. My rod is bending quite a bit. So the hooks just find their place because they're super small. So they're just going to go in.
Dude's just barfing info right now. I love it.
And it also gets a slower fall on some baits. So that might matter to some people.
Yeah, sure. So tell us about that. The idea of throwing a swim bait and how it can mess up other bites and patterns. And
yeah, so this is basically conditioning fish. So Mike Gilbert talks a lot about this. And if you guys want to watch like his videos are like crazy detailed. Like that dude has caught so many giant fish, and he knows what he's talking. Like he's like on it. Like that dude knows it. But he actually makes these two baits right here. So he owns Working Class Zero. So his soft baits are killer. Amazing baits. But so conditioning fish is basically, say you cast out to a laydown, because laydowns are big over here. Say you cast your Chad over to a laydown. All right, the hooks are banging against the bait, and you get a few followers. and you're reeling it in, and you chop it a few times or whatever to see if those fish commit. All right, they don't commit. You've got a couple of followers. You cast right back into that same place, that fish, where those fish came to your boat, and they saw the bait, and they saw the boat, and they swam off. They saw the bait, kind of come out of the water or whatever. All right, you cast into there again. You're showing that same bait, and you're getting the same exact scenario happening again, which is not good. You're conditioning those fish to know that bait right there and that sound is related to you in the boat, which means danger, because most fish know that boats are danger. So you're conditioning fish, especially big fish. If you get big fish follows, it makes kind of a big deal. So it might shut the bite off for some other people. So here, I know if you guys that throw swim baits, I have no idea how good they are or if they know how to attack like a lay down around here. So I have to throw completely different baits. Like I can't throw a glide around a lay down here. Like I have to throw other baits. So my bait specifically, I designed 2 fish laydowns because it's different than any other bait that's thrown around laydowns here. So that's my bluegill wake bait. It's really weird to say a wake bait is thrown around laydowns because sometimes the laydown is a couple of feet deep, but it calls them up, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, that's kind of the basics of it.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense.
Nate, some of the stuff might be out there.
Are you taking notes, Nate?
I got the notebook. I got the notebook right here.
Okay, good.
seen the pink pen flash. Yeah, I'm stoked on this. So
I told you, dude was dropping knowledge for sure.
Yeah.
Brandon, one of the things we had talked about before we actually started recording was we referenced one of our homies who, I don't know if you said you had any of his baits, but you know about him, Fish 30 Acre. And we don't have to go into Fish 30 Acre specifically because he's just a buddy, whatever. If he wants to start paying us, we'll start talking about his baits. But I'm totally kidding. I'm 1,000,000% kidding. But there's a lot of and like Lola was referencing or talking about the coolness of Swim Bait Underground. There's places you can find these, but there's a lot of smaller makers of some pretty cool stuff. What are some smaller companies that you know of that maybe you could turn people on to that the common fisherman might not know about?
Yes. So this one right here. So Josh Heron owns this, Tato Designs. He makes the Eon Glide. So if you have the money, this is the best beginner glide bait out there because it does everything, or the best beginner glide bait, in my opinion, I should say, from the testing that I've done. I actually have 3 or 4 of these, so I loan them out to people that are beginning. So friends that are saying, hey, I just
that's cool.
want to get into swim baiting because it's the perfect bait for a beginner, and it's also perfect for really anyone.
It just works that well that you don't have to be an expert yet, or?
No, it's just incredible. It's one of the better ones out there because it has a super slow sink. It gets bit. That's the big thing. You can feel it whenever you're reeling it in, which is a big thing for me. I like to feel my baits. That's another big thing with balsa baits, that some baits you can't feel. And it's just like you're dragging in a wet sock or you're just dragging in your line with no bait on it. I hate that feeling. So most of the baits I have here, sitting here on my table, I can feel or see visually. So that's a big thing with this bait. I can feel it. I can feel it going back and forth. Okay. Another thing it does everything well. You can glide it out super wide. You can chop it kind of. It's perfect. You can literally, anywhere you put a spinnerbait, you can throw this pretty much, except it does have treble hooks. So it'll hang if you throw it right onto a laydown or a stump or whatever like that. It's just, it gets bit, which is a big thing for me. So if you have 100, I think these retail for $160.
Okay.
I think. But they're amazing. They're killer. So I think he makes a 6, 7, and an 8, and then he has a 9 and some other ones coming. So these are amazing. If you're beginning,
what'd you say the name of that was again?
The Tato Eon. So Tato Designs Eon Glide. Yep. Gotcha. And he does camera mounts, some super solid camera mounts as well. And he makes these little finesse guppy heads and stuff like that. A bunch of other stuff.
The same guy that makes it's the GoPro mount that goes in the pedestal seat in the back, or they hook on.
He has different mounts and everything.
Yeah, you can mount them to your graphs if you're running dual graphs at your console and stuff like that. I've seen some of the mounts. I didn't know that he made baits.
Yeah, they're on his website. I think he's sold out at the moment. His stuff goes pretty quick sometimes, but
that's cool.
Solid stuff. And his paint lasts. His baits are durable, and they're just amazing. And they look cool. They look.
Yeah, that does look really good. Yeah.
But another one. If you have $100 that DRT Tiny Clash is awesome because
the
of how
Clash. I
versatile it
love
is.
that bait. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the tiny one, so you can remove the lip. They have like a ton of different lips. They have different tails. They also have bumper guards, which you can probably fit them on the Tiny Clash. I'm not sure if they make them exactly, but I know they make them for the Ghost. But this one right here, killer bait for beginners. It gets bit. You can fish it just like a crankbait. It feels like a crankbait. They have different modes for waking. They have glide modes. They have, I don't know what you call it. Like you put in the shoot, what is it? You flip this tail the other way. You take out the lip. And I put a little bit of lead here and here, and you basically fish it, and it just does like weird stuff. Like it just goes nuts. So whenever they're feeding on like bluebacks, or they're just feeding like crazy, I just throw this thing, and it's like right up there on the surface, and the dang thing's just going wild, and the fish just come up and smash it because it's like it's going all over the place. I'm reeling the dang thing in and twitching the rod. It looks like I'm having a stroke on the boat.
Oh my gosh.
Pretty much.
Awesome. Yeah, and that one I always like too. On the Clash, the original tail setup is like that, right? Where the tail's sideways. Yeah, just not like in line with the bait, but
this is the regular Clash right here. But you can get these used for like $100 on Swimbait Underground or whatever. So you just got to find the right one. But yeah, there's a killer.
And Clash is spelled with a K, right?
Yes, Clash. DRT makes it. So they actually might have some baits on the website if you guys want to buy directly from them.
Yeah, but it's like KLASH. Yeah, they're really neat.
Yeah, and the Tiny Clash is the small one. I think it's 6.6 inches. And then the DRT Clash 9, or the K9 as most people call it, is like 9 inches. That one's 4 ounces, and then the Tiny Clash is like, I don't know, under 2 ounces or something. But
sweet.
Then this is one more for you guys real quick here. Bull shad makes the regular, like everyone knows the bull shad. That's a killer bait. This one's one of my favorites that he makes right here. I don't have a front hook on it. You can see the hook rash. It's like dug into the bait.
Yeah.
Bull wake.
That's awesome.
This is the bull wake. So he makes a 4x4 as well. I like the bull wake a little bit more. I feel it has a different sound than the 4x4 just because of the different resin formula for it. But this thing right here gets bit. So you can reel it super slow on the surface, and it'll just clack right there and just swim on the surface real slow, and you can crank it down like a crankbait. So it's like a big, shallow crankbait. This is one of the first swim baits I had before. So it was like the Gantrel, then this guy. It gets bit. I mean, this is, I don't know if you guys can see the hook rash. This is one of my favorite ones too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, that's sick.
But yeah, that one right there has been through a lot.
So been through a lot. I love that. Yes. Have you fished tater hog stuff at all, or do you know it?
I have. I have one or two of his hog fathers. They're killer baits.
Yeah, they're pretty neat. Yeah, they're pretty unique.
Matt knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he has some cool stuff.
Yes, definitely. Awesome stuff for sure. Yeah.
Nate, were you going to say something? I'm sorry. I thought I was cutting you off there.
No, you're good. Yeah, I wasn't going to say. I didn't have anything.
Okay,
the hook rash on that bullshit's crazy though. That's awesome.
That's dope. Yeah, that's like a mark of honor, when a lure's been used that much, it's that scratched up. So tell us about the swim bait, soft swim bait frog thing.
Okay, sweet. So this is the Working Class Zero Citizen 6, and they also make a Citizen 7. I prefer the 7-inch one. I just didn't bring it here. But this is the new one, so it has a head case harness. So you guys, I'm sure you guys are familiar with the hooks that you screw into the nose of the bait. And sometimes the nose like blows out after you catch a few fish on it. Like it just blows out and you can't use the screw. Well, these ones, they have a screw inside of the nose. Like they have a hard resin piece inside the head that pretty much like a little screw goes into. So I'll unscrew it here real quick for you guys. So basically that little screw right there goes into that hard resin core inside the head, so you don't get the nose to blow out. So this bait can be used for a ton of fish, which is the cool thing about these ones. So really these are the new Citizens. The new Citizens have this head case harness in them. The older ones do not. So the ones in the gray package have this head case harness, which is amazing. Okay. So it makes your baits just last extremely long, but basically use just a big old weighted beast hook in there. You can use an unweighted one if you want, but this bait right here, I fish a lot around grass because it's pretty darn weedless. You can fish it through a lot of grass. I like to fish it topwater in the summer. So we have these pretty thick pads. It's like these little tiny pads, but they're pretty thick. So you can throw a weighted beast hook on there and it'll still stay on top, even the 7-inch one.
Okay.
So you basically throw it out there and it just sits there on top of these little tiny pads. And like half of it sometimes will be like submerged underwater and you'll see it out there. And you'll just fish it real slow. Sometimes you give it little hops like a frog and it'll just kind of sit there and just pop around. Sometimes the mats are super thick and it just sits there and lays on its side, but it moves the mat because it's big and heavy. So like the 7-inch one, I throw on those bigger mats and stuff. And Keith Wilson is the guy that I learned this from, him talking about it on some other podcasts and stuff. He's a guy down in Florida that does this with the citizens. But basically, you just throw it out there, and this tail will kick if you're in, a little bit more water with those tinier pads, smaller pads. And dude, those fish just blow up on the dang thing. Like you'll watch a 6-pounder just blow up through this giant ball of grass on the 7-inch swim bait. Dude, it's way better than frog fishing, honestly. Like I don't throw frogs much in that stuff anymore. Like you're just fishing that dang thing on top of the grass, and you watch that giant fish just come out and just maul the thing. It's the best.
That's awesome.
It's super
but
exciting.
They're pretty darn weedless, so that helps with that bait.
Yeah,
right there.
That's a dope setup. Yeah, that's a really good way to fish something that everyone else on planet Earth is like, the only thing you can throw in there is a frog. So to be able to throw something different, looks different, feels different, big old hook on it. Yeah, that's awesome, dude. What a cool different tactic.
I know it's like different than like most people throw. Like that's why I was like, oh dang, that's pretty cool. Whenever I saw like Keith Wilson like has some videos on his Instagram about it, and I was just like, dude, that is so cool. I gotta try this. And I've been having some luck on it. It's pretty cool. It's like an exhilarating, different way to fish top water. It's incredible. Golly. And then you can take that same bait and not have any modifications and just throw the thing on the bottom. Like if you come to some open water, or if you want to pitch it.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
you're not doing that with a frog.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you could probably. You can clip on some weights or whatever, but
I guess,
probably not the perfect bait for it. But it's just, it's a jig, a frog, a swim bait all in one. Just everything.
Yeah.
But
gosh,
it's pretty wild. I've yet to do that with the 9-inch battle shad. So I want to try it this year with this thing in the pads. It's 9 inches though. I usually throw the 7-inch one or the 6-inch one.
That's a big guy. Yep.
So this one's a lot of plastic right here, but yeah. That's
what's the bigger mag draft? Is it an 8 or a 10? Is there both?
Yeah, they make a 10 and they make a 6, 8, and a 10.
6, 8, and 10.
Okay.
I love the mag drafts. Those are good baits right there.
What is this? This is an 8. Yeah, this is an 8 that I've caught fish on in lily pads. Even though obviously it's got the the magnet treble whatever. So I do the other way of rigging it. Where you can put the treble like in the belly. So you only have 2 hanging out instead of all 3 of them hanging out. And I've caught some pretty good fish throwing a big 8 in lily pads. Where I'm essentially trying to swim it through more, but like there's something about it, like where they don't see that profile in there very often. And like you said, when they do hit it, there's no subtlety to it. It's an explosion. It's like dropping a bowling ball from 40 feet into the water. I mean, it's so I've actually missed some fish because of my my heart rate triples when I'm trying to set the hook and I turn into a little kid. And it's awesome. But yeah, you're right, dude. That's a cool way to fish, and throwing a bigger one like that. I don't know what it is. It seems to really work. Yeah. So tell us your feelings on the mag draft. I mean, I feel like that's probably one of the more known, if not the most known, like big soft body swim bait. What do you think of them?
Yeah, it's a great bait. I mean, especially for like having like super good availability. You can find the things everywhere now. They're pretty darn cheap. They last a good while, unless you're fishing the ones with the beast hooks in them, because the nose blows out sometimes.
Absolutely does.
They're good baits. They catch some good fish. I like them a lot. I mostly throw the 10 just because the action is different. Like each one has a different action. So like the weedless, the unrigged ones have a different action than the 6-inch or rigged ones. So like each one has a different action, but they all have the same action. So like they kind of move different. Like each one has a similar action to each other, but they all kind of move slightly different. The 10 has the most wiggle and likes to stay down the best. So it also has a bigger profile, which I like about it. One tip about the mag drafts is you can take paper clips and cut them into a U shape and use that to stick over the hook to keep it on there. So you pretty much have it there.
Okay, yeah, I saw what you're saying.
Okay, you little trickster.
Yeah.
That way the hook stays there, and you can skip them under stuff. But I don't fish.
I was just gonna say that. Man, they skip like an absolute flat stone.
Oh man, they're perfect for that. I mean, you can do the same thing with the Bud too. It's killer.
Yeah, it's real. The first time I ever threw, this is funny. The first time I ever threw a mag draft, I had a bunch of them. I feel like swim bait fishing is a lot like other types of fishing. Like if you're a jig guy and you really want to get into deep cranking, you got a whole box full of deep cranks, but then you go to the lake and you're like, oh, I'm just going to jig fish because I'm good at jig fishing. Like I had quite a few mag drafts in a box that I hadn't thrown yet, and I just kept on. I didn't really know a ton about them. I knew people fished them and caught them, but I didn't know under what circumstances, what to look for, water clarity, water temp, blah, 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 whatever. And Lola and I, on our honeymoon, we were fishing on some small lakes in Wisconsin, and I had like that classic all white mag draft, like not the freestyle, but the regular one. And I started throwing them around docks, and that's when I first realized, like, holy crap, these things skip better than a swim jig. And just like they would go so far into the docks, and I'd take like one crank, and boom, I get lit by. I mean, you know, you get it into that spot, and you do one little crank where you can feel the lure kind of straighten out, and they just get just smoke. Do you remember this?
Yes.
Holy crap, that's fun. I mean, that is a fun way to fish, dude.
It's amazing.
This one, you're talking about the noses blown out. This is a mag draft freestyle.
Okay.
Mag draft freestyle. Is that what you said?
Yep. Yeah, there you go. That's exactly what happened. So
yeah, from that big hook, they blow out pretty bad.
Yeah, that's what's cool about the working class zero baits is they've got that head case harness, so they don't blow out. So it's amazing about them.
That's really smart.
So wait, if it blows out, do you still keep it?
I don't. I mean, I still have it. I don't know why I still have it, but yeah, I mean, that just needs to get thrown away, honestly.
Some people super glue them back together and try to reuse them. But
it works sometimes.
It's pretty tough. Yeah, it's pretty tough. Yeah,
because it's kind of like it's like gummy and like cut apart.
I've had more luck with the mag draft. So this is one of the 6-inch ones that I have, and I can't really see it here. But I'll take one of the nail weights and put it right in the mouth, and kind of angle it down right into the head. And I think it gives it a little bit more versatility for fishing it, because it's a lot of times if you reel it a little too fast, it'll kind of blow out and want to roll on you and stuff. So I like it because it'll allow you to fish it a little bit faster if you need to, and then also if you want to get it down a little bit deeper, it'll give it that little bit of nose fall and that wiggle on its way down. So that's totally one of the deals that I like to do with them is just right in the little mouth there.
Yeah, that's smart. Yeah, I love the customizing. I don't want to get you in trouble here, Brendan, and you don't have to say a dang thing if you don't want to.
Is it controversial? I love controversial topics.
Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, it's potentially controversial. What are your thoughts on like so many baits being essentially mag draft? It's almost rude to say, but mag draft knockoffs, imitators. Do I think like the Zaldandra swim bait is the exact same thing as a mag draft? I don't. I don't. Do I think it's really, 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 really close? Yes. Or the Nessie, or I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Yeah, the coal shad. That's really the one I was looking for more. So, yeah. What are your thoughts on that kind of stuff?
Oh man, so I love these kind of topics. I've talked about it a bunch.
That's the Flag 170, right?
This is the 255. I don't like
the big one. Okay.
Yeah. They, even them being the same bait in different sizes, the size changes the action drastically. Right. This thing right here, I mean, you can reel it as a straight retrieve and change the speeds, and you can get like multiple different actions. It's wild. But back on that topic, it's interesting. I love navigating this kind of topic. It's fun to me, I guess you'd say. But I like thinking about that kind of stuff and being like, all right, I like testing the baits and figuring out, all right, could you consider this a knockoff and could you not consider this one? So if we could just go off the mag draft, the mag draft was not the first one with the bottom hook on there. There's other baits out there that have been doing that for years, just like the cast stake one that you held up a little while ago. Cast stake's been doing that with the bottom hook, the paddle tail and stuff.
Yep.
But honestly, it's most of these companies are just trying to get their piece of the pie that they want. Most people are like, oh, swim baits are the rage. All right, now we need to make a swim bait or something. We've got to keep on making money or whatever like that they want. The Coal Shad, I don't feel is a knockoff of anything because it's different because you can reel it faster. It has a different kick. It doesn't have the nose wiggle that the Mag Drift has, which I like. It's just Berkeley's way of saying, we want our piece of the pie. We want some sales. We want some people fishing these bigger baits made by us. The Dangerous Swimbait, on the other hand, because since Zaldane was sponsored or worked
by
with
Megabass
forever, I kind of got the feeling that it's obviously a knockoff because number one, it's pretty much the same size, the 6-inch one, the face details, everything from the lateral line, like it has that like ridge that comes out to the sides, and the tail and the fins and everything. It's just like it's obvious that it's a knockoff to me. Different action because it has a different plastic density, so the plastic density plays a big role into it. They actually smell the same in the packages too, so it kind of shows you that they're made with the same plastic in the same factory. So it's pretty interesting. But yeah, and then on the flag deal, like I'm pretty sure, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but I'm pretty sure Ike went over to Japan and saw some things, and that's what happened with the gilly and the flag and probably some other baits that they're probably going to be coming out with soon. We don't really know that at the moment, but he just saw some baits and he was like, all right, probably nobody's ever seen this. We can probably make our own version of it. And we can sell
I think you're right.
You know, but I mean, the Nessie sucks. It's pretty horrible in the water. You can't.
I've heard nothing but bad stuff about the Nessie. I've heard a lot of guys have bought them. Shout out to what's that feller's name? He's commented on a bunch of our stuff on social. I've exchanged messages with him. Super cool cat. I am so sorry I'm forgetting your name, man. Truly sorry. But he was just saying, I bought a bunch of Nessies, whatever. They were super cheap, and I was like, well, have you used them yet? He's like, no, but they were only like $7 or something like that.
Derek something.
Was it Derek Colbert?
It might have been him. I don't know if it was him that was talking about this, but anyway, it doesn't, whatever. You should be able to find it semi easily, but I think that's what's happening is some people are buying.
Tanner Hartman?
Maybe. Yeah, it might be Tanner Hartman.
Wait, no, sorry.
Anywho, but yeah, people are getting them because they're cheap, they're affordable, they look kind of cool. And then I haven't really heard a ton of positive things about the Nessie, or even like, I think we talked about this. Was it last week we talked about this? The Nate, was this one of my weird tangents I went off on last week? Is the Berkeley Credge, which is the Jackal Riser, which before that was the Lucky Craft Wander, which didn't have a lip but was a jerkbait that basically went upwards.
What's this one?
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, but I think there's always some form of like, I don't know if you want to call it a knockoff or whatever, but it's pretty dang close, dude. Or even when we talked with Trey Harpel a few weeks ago, and he was saying how like all these reel manufacturers, all their reels are being built in the same factory by the same hands, and they slap a different label on it, and it's this reel versus that reel, so unique. Yeah, exactly. Unique isn't always like the name of the game. Have you heard much about, speaking, you said scent, and so it made my brain go here, Brendan. Have you heard anything? Give us your opinion if you have on the Sixth Sense Hangover.
Oh yeah.
I've heard that it smells really weird.
I've yet to hold one or fish one or buy one.
Okay.
Here's my thing: is number one, it's not a knockoff. It has a shitty action. Sorry. It's just, it has a pretty horrible action. I mean, like even Ben in the video said, as it's rolling over, as the slow sink one is rolling and doing weird stuff and has like a horrible looking, ugly fall. Like, is it just like kind of like, it just kind of like falls real dumb and just kind of like, it doesn't kick on the fall, which is a big thing for me.
Yeah.
That the 316 does. So, that one is just, it doesn't have it for me. And Ben was like, well, it is what it is, after he was showcasing that it rolls and it does weird stuff that it shouldn't do. He just he's like, it is what it is. I'm fine with that. Go make your swim baits, whatever. I don't care. I don't have a grudge against him or really anybody. I just put my opinion out there on what I've seen. I'm going to buy one of each of the sinking models, and I'm going to test them and see. But to me, the 316 one has been proven. It looks cool. It does look good. It's just, that's what I'm going to go with. Is if I'm going with the line through, it's going to be a 316. That's just what I'm going for. Yeah. A lot of people are really angry about this stuff, or burrito baits, like Gail Radcliffe at Burrito Baits. His baits are really really, really good.
Yeah, they'll suck. Well, yeah, they must be because they're always sold out.
Yeah.
You can't get them. You can't get them on like Hookup Tackle. You can't get them on their website. You can't get them. They're always gone.
Yeah. He's got some stuff on his site sometimes he launches, but most of the stuff he does now is through Bullshad. So like they make the burrito. They make a nacho as well, but his line throughs, like his ones that he does himself.
How do we not have this stuff?
Yeah, that's
nacho,
a good point.
Burrito, hello.
Taco salad.
Tacos.
He has a taco salad. I mean, you just look on his website for all the names. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, why aren't we hooked up with that?
We gotta check this out.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, right. But like, I have some, not a ton, but I have some tattoos. And so sometimes people will ask me like, hey, where should I go to get tattoos? And I'm always like, dude, wherever you go, if you can get in that day, that's not the shop for you. Like if you can book a tattoo right now when you go in, then they're not booked out far enough. They're probably not doing very quality work. If you're trying to go get you a dope swim bait, and every time you go to the website, their baits are like readily available, that's probably a sign that, you know, like Fish 30 Acre. If you go to his website, there's never any inventory because he makes a big batch of it, does a bunch of painting, and then sells the shoes off of it the second it comes out, and then they're out until he can make more. Same thing with burrito baits and the mission stuff, or like the 316 stuff. A lot of times, like they'll have some stuff, but it's sort of like that old trick. If you go to a bait shop and there's 15 DT6s, look for that peg. There's only one left on because that's the juice for that area, you know, whatever. Yeah. But yeah, with like the 316 stuff, man, you go to their website and it's like you can't find it. Or not in the colors that are really like the jam, but yeah, burrito stuff is, sorry, I kind of went in a weird circle there, kind of like a glide bait, but the burrito stuff is dope. Yeah, the burrito stuff is really, really dope, but yeah, that's fresh.
Definitely. And his baits are like well designed. Like he's a fisherman, like he knows what the bait should do, and he knows what his baits do as well. Like a lot of guys, I'm not going to be trying to name any names or anything like that, but a lot of guys get into swim bait making and they'll make a batch of baits. And they'll be like, all right, we're selling. I'm going to make a pre-order for, all these baits. They're $200 a bait, and they can't deliver in the time that they said they were going to deliver the baits. You know, they can't make them, or they have an issue or whatever. And personally, I like to be honest with the people, so I'm not going to take money up front for a bait either, or a pre-order or whatever like that. But that's a big problem. Like some people actually just take the money and ran. Like they've got $10,000 of other people's money in swim baits, and they just never deliver the baits. Like it's kind of wild, you know.
Wow, that is, yeah,
it's crazy. But yeah, I don't like any of that sort of stuff. But I try to go with the guys that know what they're doing, that have been doing it a while, that have proven baits, that will do what they say they're going to do.
Yeah, and with a little bit of research, it's pretty easy to sift through the baloney and find those companies that nobody says a bad word about.
Yeah. Or the people that do say a bad word about it just have beef with them personally or whatever.
Sure.
Like it's just like, it's crazy.
Yeah,
like Mickey Ellis has some beef with some people. Like people just don't like him or whatever. I don't know.
They probably still throw his baits though. They probably still throw his baits. They don't like him, but they're still throwing his baits because they're that good.
Yeah, they are that good. And they just look cool. Like they just it's a good looking bait. This paint schemes matches everything. Like he's got some cool stuff.
Tons of color options too. I mean, for the soft stuff, tons of different color options. It's wild.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It's a popper right there. A poppin' shad.
That's
that's awesome.
So it swims on the surface, and if you like speed it up, it kind of sounds like a whopper plopper, or you can pop it. It's just insane. He's like weird. He's like on another universe with his baits.
Yeah, he's doing stuff that people haven't even like messed with yet.
Yeah,
that's really cool. Well, Nate, Lola, let's let this dude go. I got a couple other little questions in my head.
Okay.
But what else do you guys have? Anything else before we let this swim bait genius off the line?
No, I'm just absorbing it all.
I know. I feel very spongy right now, just sort of absorbing and trying to take it all in. I'm gonna win every tournament that I fish this year just because of this podcast.
Yeah. That's right. You are.
No,
that's the Brown Bait Co. guarantee. Listen to him and you'll win every tournament 100% of the time.
I don't make promises I can't keep. Come on now.
Your money back. Nate, you got anything else?
I mean, the only question I had was gonna be like, what's your plan of action to target these these teeners on that lake you talked about earlier?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to be like, you said you're fishing out of a boat mostly now. What's the boat setup like? Are you running live scope? What's the deal?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I don't have any electronics. I've never owned electronics. I've never used them. I've touched them before.
What?
I've never been in person when one is being used. That's just what I am. I mean, I'd rather spend my money on a swim bait than a graph at the moment. I don't know. Maybe
So
eventually,
cool.
eventually I'll
love
learn.
that.
Yeah, that's dope.
That's neat.
Like I want side scan so I can see like what structure's on the bottom, so I don't have to drag a bait or a jig over top of the entire lake in the deeper parts.
To figure out. Yeah.
Just to figure out where the cover's at.
Yeah,
So eventually I'll get something small, like a 7-inch, something like that, like something just as cheap as I can get to do that with. But I'm running like a 15-foot Duracraft aluminum John boat that I decked out. So I did like aluminum framing and did the whole carpeting and everything like that.
That's awesome.
Repainted it. So it's from 1977. So it had like 8 coats of lead paint on it. It was pretty wild.
That's cool.
But it had a bunch of leaks and stuff. So I've got a live well in it and everything. It's all rigged out. It's pretty sweet boat. The cool thing is it's super durable, which I like, because I'm running into shallow water and I don't want to be, blowing a hole in the thing. So,
Right.
So that's the boat setup. And the way I'm going to try to target these fish is mostly with big swim baits. There's some other baits out there that I do throw that catch big fish. That I will be throwing at that lake to try to catch these big fish. But primarily it's going to be swim baits. Those baits have more specific windows that they need to be used in. But I'm going to be doing some camping trips out there. The lake is like 30 minutes from me, but they've got like places to set a tent. So I'll just be like, all right, I'll dock my boat here and spend the weekend here or whatever.
That's awesome.
So that way I can fish there at night and put in, tons of hours into this lake. That's the plan. But big soft baits is where I'm probably going to be throwing the most.
Nice.
Just because I feel like it's like probably the better, tool to use for those bigger fish. But of course, the workhorse, I can't stop throwing the thing. Like it's caught me more 5-6 pounders out of that lake than 7s. It's insane. But that's pretty much.
What does that glide bait cost?
I think it's $290, $280, somewhere around there. But it's a killer bait. Like if you can find one used, you might be able to find it for $200. Like I think I saw some the other day. But usually I try to if I see one that's cheap, I try to snap it up before someone else does if it's a good color. Yeah,
that's sweet.
Because I lose them.
Like,
I lose them
it's a good price. Oh, Brendan got it.
Yeah.
Crap. Gone. Yeah, forget it. Gone.
Like if you see a bone one on there, I'm gonna try to grab it. Like that's the color for here.
How often are you? How often are you on there looking for stuff?
Every day, usually hourly.
That's awesome. Dude's got it. Dude's got it bad.
I'm checking it bad.
Yeah.
I'm checking Swimbait Nation, Swimbait Universe, Swimbait Underground. I've got buddies here and there everywhere that try to look for me. I call tackle shops every time if they've got an order in.
So it's like a little obsession, just like a little.
A little bit.
A slight obsession.
Yeah. He's all in, dude. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it a lot, man. Yeah. You know what's funny too is I'm thinking as you say that for that bait, 290, 280, whatever. Mm-hmm. People who don't know are probably like, holy Lord. But in the big glide bait, that's not that insane of a price. It's really not.
And it's catching you fish.
This is the papa version of it. I mean, that's the bigger one.
Big daddy.
Wow.
It's 10 ounces.
Wow. 10 ounces. Holy heavens.
I feel like you're throwing a brick.
It is. It sounds like a brick.
Yeah. Have you caught fish on it?
I did catch a 3-pounder on it.
That's crazy.
So that's it. I haven't put a ton of time in with it.
Yeah.
So that's probably why I haven't caught any big fish off of it yet. So
do you dabble in any of the super crazy Japanese stuff, Roman made or whatever else?
Yes, I have a lot of JDM stuff. That's another obsession. I do a lot of JDM spinnerbaits, chatterbaits, some of the other crankbaits that they make. I have some older discontinued Japanese balsa baits that not many people know about that I like. There's basically everything in fishing. I don't own a spinning rod. I'm not throwing the tiny stuff. Like I don't throw any of that. Like that's pretty much the only thing I'm not into.
Okay. Do you have any mega bass balsa stuff?
No, I do not. I want one of the ones that they did.
Yeah, they have some dope stuff. I have a couple, but not much. Yeah, they have some really rad stuff. But
that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So sorry. So the question I wanted to ask, number one, is if people want to get on board with what you have going on, how can they find you? Social, YouTube, website, whatever. How can they find where you're at?
Yeah. So my Instagram is just Brown Bait Co. That's one word. I'm also on Facebook. It's Brendan Owen Brown. That's my Facebook name or whatever. And then I'm also on YouTube. I used to do a podcast bi-weekly on my YouTube channel. Now I do it every week on Jermaine's channel. So he's my we're brothers in podcasting pretty much. So we used to do it bi-weekly, 1 week on his show, another week on my show, another week on his show. So we basically bounce it around. So it's moved completely over to his channel now because I don't care about, growing too much on my channel. I'm just like, yeah, whatever. I'll spend my time fishing and podcasting with you, helping you grow your channel. So his channel is Mainstream Fishing.
And
he's
main
a
like
super
the
cool
state,
dude.
right?
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a super cool dude. We do podcasts. We've got a ton of, swim bait guys on there. We've had a bunch of other guys on there. It's fun. But yeah, my YouTube channel is Brown Bait Co. I do sporadic lives on there from my shop. So I'll be building baits and doing a live stream at the same time. So sometimes it'll be in the morning, in the middle of the day, at 2:00 at night. Just, whenever I'm out
That's
there.
awesome. Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, so every Monday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, I'll go live with Jermaine on his channel, Mainstream Fishing. So this week we have Adrian Dean from Scales and Tails on there. So he's a big swim baiter in the north.
Yeah.
Big smallmouth guy. So,
oh, sweet. Yeah. And you've had TK on there, right? Tacklecraft.
Yep. A couple of times.
Yeah, I was gonna say more than once, I think. Yeah. He's a wealth of knowledge. He seems like a pretty intelligent feller. And then the last one is this. Yeah, the last one is this. So we talked a lot about technique and how to fish these swim baits and whatever. What's the number one tip you would say to get somebody better at swim baiting? You did say spend time with it, like figure it out. What does that mean? What are you looking for? What are you throwing swim baits at? For me, when I get any new lure, and maybe it's because I'm an idiot and this is so basic, it just works for me. But when I get any lure, I like to. Up here in Wisconsin, we're mostly clear lakes and stuff. The water's pretty crispy. I'll just throw it off the front deck of the boat and like watch it in the water, and I'll reel it in fast. I'll reel it in slow. I'll do little hand pops with it. I'll jerk it if it's a jerk, and just kind of see how it works and see what I think is going to work best on a longer retrieve. What do you do? What advice would you say to somebody who wants to take their swim baiting from a level 3 to a level 6? Like, what's the next step?
Well, I mean, I'm hoping that taking swim bait to the next level would be fishing one body of water and dedicating it to learning those baits and those fish, because fish in different bodies of water act completely different. So maybe try to bring only your swim baits, bring ones that are proven, and put time in with them on one specific body of water. So that way you learn those fish. And some lakes don't even I can't catch fish at a certain lake on swim baits. Like I just can't. Like they eat a spinnerbait like crazy out there. Like I've got 6s and 7s and 8s on there out on a spinnerbait, but I can't buy a bite on a swim bait or a chatterbait. Like it's the weirdest thing. So fish are super weird, like their behavior. It's just interesting to learn that. But fishing a swim bait in a specific place in a specific time is not really something I do. I should say I don't preach throw a swim bait whenever it's cloudy or whenever it's windy or whatever like that.
Sure.
Like there's such a broad spectrum of weather patterns out there and different baits and different actions and different fish and water clarity and everything goes into it that you just can't really get a definite answer. You just gotta have to go out there and throw it in all conditions. So that's a big thing, is throw it in the spring, put in a couple of days fishing in only your swim baits in the spring. Put in a couple of days worth in the summer, in the fall, in the winter. Just put time in with it in every scenario, time, and place that you can fish, pretty much. So just putting time in with it is the biggest thing you can do, because you're learning your fish, you're learning your body of water, you're learning when the swim baits work for you, what swim baits work for you, what ones don't. You're learning your fish's behavior because it's a different bait. It's a big bait. It calls fish up. There's just so many different things you can go into with it.
Yeah. Well, dang, golly. Thank you, dude. Seriously, this is amazing. Swim bait. I feel like that was swim bait 101 and maybe a little bit like 201. I feel like we kind of No, you have none to. I love it. I thought it was great, man. I'm really excited to use some of this stuff. And there's something so fun about throwing a big swim bait. Like watching it swim, watching it glide, or it's like I don't know if you use a popper a lot. If you're
Mhm.
tuned into using a popper, you get like a bleep, bleep, bloop, and you get a good bloop, and you're like, that was a good bloop. You know, like you throw a swim bait, it's the same thing on like getting that action just right, and you get the one extra just right where you want it to glide, or you get it to turn just right, and it almost makes fishing it's almost as much fun as catching a fish on it. You know, there's something really, really addicting about it. It's really cool. But man, yeah. So thank you so much for your time, Brendan.
Of course, no problem.
I learned so much.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, we appreciate it, dude.
Well, thank you guys for having me on. It's always fun chatting.
Yeah, thank you a ton. So you can go ahead and hang up. We appreciate you times 10. And yeah, thanks a lot.
Awesome. Thank you all. Have a good one.
All right, brother. We'll see you later. Thanks. What do you think, Nate?
Man, I'm going to be honest. It's surprising the wealth of knowledge out of a 19-year-old. Like that was
he's smart.
Like
he's
like
smart,
intelligent. Like he knows what he's talking about. Like that was awesome. Like I'm stoked. I'm more excited. Yeah, no, I'm more excited about this upcoming season and slinging some big baits around this year. So
yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, this is not really like a big whoop. Truly, I'm not saying this to like try and downplay something, but I don't know for sure if I'm going to be fishing the club that I normally fish this year. It's not a diss on them. It's not an anything. It's just life and schedules. And they release where they're going to be fishing at primarily this year, and they're farther away. And I don't know, whatever. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But the one thing I do like is if I'm doing more. And I do truly actually believe, it's not just a saying, I really do believe all fishing is fun fishing.
Yeah.
Because if it's not, then what the heck are we doing? But I do believe if I'm not fishing as many derbies, I really want to dedicate more time to swim bait fishing. And I actually said that a couple weeks ago. I said that I wanted to focus on jerkbait fishing and big swim bait fishing.
Yeah, you did. Also, I think I'm going to dream about this all night, like all of the things I learned.
Hopefully, don't dream about alligators.
I'll be like a genius in the morning.
Yeah.
I don't want gators in my dreams. That is a
Yeah.
straight up nightmare.
Yeah.
And no, thank you.
What's really neat about him too was he made me kind of think / remember some stuff and really get pumped up about just the variety of baits that are available, for soft to hard to big glide baits to like the DRT Clash, the stuff that has like lips on it. There's just so much variety out there on what you can throw and how you can throw it.
It's a little overwhelming.
It is, but in like a really cool way.
But it's nice that he's like, this is what's proven. Okay, thank you
Yeah,
for narrowing it down.
Yeah, and he was like, grab 3 baits.
Yeah.
Grab 3 and get comfy with them. Like find stuff that's proven.
Yeah.
Especially if you're just starting, because he's spot on. Like if you're just starting with swim baits and you buy some thinking that they look cool, but they're actually garbage.
Yeah.
They're not proven. They're not 316 stuff or whatever,
real,
but it looks good.
I think.
And you're out there trying to catch fish on a non-proven bait that doesn't actually, all you're going to do is frustrate yourself and not want to do it anymore.
Yep.
This is another random one that I just pull out of my box. This is a live target swim bait. I think it's just called like the herring or something. I have a couple.
He's poking himself.
A couple colors in it, and these are so cheap and they work so well. I don't know how well you can.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh yeah,
you can see it.
It's got the tail is actually clear. Like it's got this big gunk of plastic.
Oh yeah.
These things. I don't know if you can see. It's really This is 2 different colors. It's really translucent. These things are
Huh.
One's kind of brown. One kind of has like a pearlescent purple in it.
Very close.
They're close. But you can skip these for a mile under a dock. They get bit. They hook up every time because they have a really big bait or a really big wide gap hook in them. There's just a million varieties out there. This is another one I don't think I've ever shared on here. This is almost embarrassing, but this is a Optimum swim bait.
Weird.
This has
I saw
to be
holding that, and I was like, what does he have in his hand?
This Optimum swim bait. I put a VMC bladed hybrid treble with a little blade on it. This swim bait has to be
120 years old.
30 years old.
Oh, okay.
Has to be 30 years old, maybe older. Look at this thing. I don't know if you guys can see it on camera.
Were you chewing on it?
Look at the tail on that thing.
Yeah, that's wild.
It's like a fruit roll up. Fruit by the foot.
Yeah.
It's all melted and crazy looking from being in a box.
I don't know. Can you hear what he's saying, Nate?
Yeah, I can hear.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've caught so many fish on this thing. It's crazy. And I haven't thrown this for years because now it's like starting to get dried up and I don't want to lose it.
Just put it up
But
on the
like
wall.
this one, I literally, all I would do is throw it out there and slow reel it back in. And this giant long tail would just spin and fish would just, I mean, they would just, and again, this is a very like that castaic one. Like as a kid throwing this, when you get a bite on it, you're throwing it, you're wanting to catch fish on it. But when the fish actually bite, it's absolute shock every time. It's like, holy crap, it worked. Like, it's like, that's part of what makes it so fun. It's like, oh my gosh, I actually caught a fish on this stupid looking thing. But man, that was fun.
Yeah.
That was really fun talking to that dude. People, if you don't, please check out that feller's podcast, his social media stuff. I mean, good Lord, 19 years old, sharp as a tack. Sky's the limit for that dude. I feel like, and just a humble, genuine human being. You know, that's what it's really all about. Because if you're a doctor and you're prescribing medicine to somebody and you're a total dick about it, you're not going to want to take the medicine. You know, bedside manner is important. But if you're intelligent and you're articulate and you're humble and you have a non-assuming vibe like Brendan, then I think it's really easy to take what he says.
There's
to heart.
passion behind what he's talking about. It's like because he has this knowledge and he's just happy to share it. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Happy to share it. Like he was like stoked to barf it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
Even to the point where he said he's got a couple, entry level swim baits that he like loans out to people that are getting started.
Oh my gosh, I love
awesome.
that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Really neat. Who else is doing that?
Exactly. Yeah,
I mean, that's
cool.
really cool for sure. So before we wrap it up tonight, thank you guys for sticking with us. We love these longer podcasts where we can kind of get in depth on stuff. Please make sure you are supporting the people who are supporting us. Giltech,
yes, please.
Maker of some incredible. We should get. I don't know if he fishes regular boot tail swim baits, but if he does, we should get Brennan some Giltech swim baits. Easily the best 4 or 5 inch boot tail swim bait I've ever thrown. Tracks straight, runs great, tons of wiggle, awesome color options. And you can only get the Giltech stuff that we're sponsored by at hookandarrowsupplyco.com. hookandarrowsupplyco.com. Awesome shop in northern Wisconsin, run by a guy named Brian, who's just an honest, hardworking fella, car guy. He's building a house right now. Like he's building it himself. He's just one of those dudes. Everything he does is built right, thought through, intentional. Grizzly Coolers and Kenai. That's an awesome company to be working with, based in Decorah, Iowa, making really smart stuff. Nate's wanting some more stuff from Grizzly, like that giant man-sized jug looking thing.
I need that.
Yeah, just some cool stuff, man. And we're stoked to be working with them. That's another one. It's not like we're reaching out to every company on the market. Oh, you make coolers, work with it, whatever. Like, we are so honored to work with them. We don't want to work with anybody else. They're doing some cool stuff. And then, like I said, we got that new sponsor from Nike. I mean, oops. What if we did? What if we got sponsored by some giant? What if we got sponsored by GM or something? They're like, these idiots get that spot. They don't even know what they're doing.
Right. Yeah.
But we do got the new one that we'll drop on you when we can, which we're really, really pumped about. It's a very specific to us type thing from a big company that we're humbled to be working with. Working Class Bowhunter, make sure you check them out. workingclassbowhunter.com, part of their podcast network. What do you think about Working Class, Lola?
I love them. I think they're great. I think they're real. I think they're funny. I think they're knowledgeable. Yeah, I love it.
That's a great summary, honestly. Real, funny, knowledgeable.
For sure. Yeah. They've got all the goods over there. So we appreciate those guys and all they do for us, and hopefully we're doing enough for them.
Yeah, that's a good way of saying it.
For real.
Hopefully we're not letting them down. We're like, golly, when are they going to start working for us? We're putting our, So check all that stuff out. Make sure you look at us on the interwebs. Look at us.
Make sure to look at us.
Boy's getting tired.
I know.
Your boy's getting tired. Make sure to check us out. tacklandtacos.com.
I'm so tired.
Our merch shop is open. We've been loving selling t-shirts and stickers and hats to everybody. So tacklandtacos.com. Check that out. What else, Lola? What are we missing? Social media?
Tackle and Tacos.
There it is. YouTube?
Tackle and Tacos.
Website?
tacklandtacos.com. That's really bad.
That was very pretty.
Thank you so much. I think it's time for bed.
I'm so glad that I hit the sound effect properly.
Why is it still going so long? Okay, I'm ready for bed.
All right, so that's it. We appreciate you guys. Make sure you stay tuned on what we got going because we are love doing this for you. We're gonna keep it moving.
Did you say we are love doing this?
We love doing this, and we are gonna keep it moving.
Let's listen back.
There it is.
Anyway, all right. So Nate, give us the tagline. Let's get up out of her.
That's it. Positivity is worth the effort. Peace.
Bye.
Guac and roll.
Guac and roll.
Over there, Sir Mix-a-Lot.
Yeah, with the one button.